Hey, what's up, Mason? Let me know if you can hear me. Hey, chat, can you guys hear me? Hey, chat, in the. All right, awesome. You guys can hear me in the chat. Hey, what's going on, Green Beret Chronicles crew and also War Room crew? All right, today we have a special segment, right? So today I'm going to be interviewing Ben Papis, which is one of our panel over at the War Room podcast, right? So I'm trying to get back to um, live interviews. I haven't done that in a while, but while we wait for them to come in, if you guys have any question in the chat, man, let me know. I'm also trying to do more lives for you guys. I know on my channel, the War Room, I don't go as live. I don't go live as often as I would like. Just got so much going on, but it is something that I need to do more of, right? So if you guys want to see that, let me know. In the meantime, while we work on that, if you guys have any questions, just put it in the chat room while I make sure I shoot everything out on social media that we're live on the War Room podcast and also Greenberg Chronicles um, YouTube channel also, right? So bear with me as I get that typed up. And again, if you guys have any questions for me, especially from my side of the channel on the Greenberg side, feel free to post them in the comment section below while we wait on Ben to make his way into the live stream so we can start this podcast episode. Side, feel free to post them in the comment section below. All right, awesome. If you guys don't have any questions, that's even better. All right, so I'll get us going on social media here, boys, and then we'll kick this interview off. In the meantime, what do you guys think about what is unfolding in Israel right now, as far as the pager bombs, right? Is that what they're calling it? The pager bombs? What do you guys think about that? Because I don't know how I feel about it, right? Like I have my like I'm all about getting rid of, you know, terrorists, but I'm also a big fan of doing things the right way. And I just feel like how they went about doing it, you know, could have led to a lot of innocent people getting hurt, right? I know some folks are out there and they're all patriotic and they're like, yeah, fuck it, get them all. But I'm like, dude, I think we killed like two kids in that process. So I don't know. There's got to be a better way that we can do this. So yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comment section or in the chat, because a lot of kids got hurt for no fucking reason. All right, yeah. So Sergeant Valor is still around, right? Because something that I've been playing with, and I do plan on doing more Sergeant Valor skits. I'm just trying to pace myself, man, make sure I have enough materials, right? So he'll come around soon, I promise, Jared. No, so when I went through selection, Luke, I didn't get any shit from the 11 Bravos, but no one really knows what MOS's guys were. Um, because again, you're not broadcasting that, right? So everyone is just a number, and everybody went through and did work. So no one, had time to figure out, oh, this guy's a cook, or hey, this guy's 11 Bravo, or this dude is 12 Bravo. Like no one knew any of that, nor did they care. So we were just too busy sucking, right? So no, there wasn't a lot of that going on. All right, again, bear with me, guys. I'm pushing all this stuff out on social media so we can get everybody in here for this live podcast episode. Yeah, so Mason, to your point, the way this was done as far as the pager attacks, like if somebody was so if it was so easy for someone to penetrate that supply line and do that much harm, like who's to say that our adversary won't do the same thing? So I agree with you 100%, as far as the tactics that was used, right? Because now our adversaries are looking at this and they're like, oh, haha, fucking iPhones and Samsung. That's what they mostly use. How can we infiltrate that supply line to hell put a fucking bomb in it, put a bomb in your iPhone. So I don't know, man. Like I get it. Those dudes are trying to do work to keep their country safe, but the manner in which it was done, I'm not a fan of that at all. I think it could have been done a tad bit better, and they could have used a little bit more, I guess, restraint, right? Because 2,800 people injured, two dead. Not out of all those 28, not everyone was a Hezbollah dude, right? So there's some innocent dudes in there that got fucked up. Um, so I don't know, man. I just feel like those dudes are just running amok and they can do whatever they want whenever they want, and no one is necessarily checking them. Um, so yeah, I'm not a fan of how it went down at all. All right, what else we got in the chat? Let's see what we got. All right, Jeb, since I don't do social media, where can I find some of my old teammates from Fifth Special Forces Group? So you might be able to hit up Facebook. I know there's a lot of Facebook groups that will link you guys together. I know third group, we have some old retirees that are in there, and they got like a Facebook group going where third groupers get together and just shoot the shit, right? So you might have some luck with that. So I would say seek out some old Facebook pages and see if you could find some of your old teammates there. All right, so the U.S. Marine Corps, give me a second, make sure. U.S. Marine Corps, Coast Guard, do they need their own Tier 1 unit? I don't think so. I'm actually working on a segment next week that's going to talk about some specifics as it relates to Tier 1 units and special operation as a whole. I think we have way too many of those units running around when we all do the same shit. Is SEAL Team 6 better than Delta Force? Absolutely not. There's a reason why SEAL Team 6 guys try out for Delta Force. All right. Don't become the enemy you wish to defeat. I agree 100%. All right, see if we got any more questions in here before Ben jumps in. Did you deploy to Iraq or Afghanistan? Yes, I deployed to both. My first rotation was Iraq, 2003, the initial invasion. I caught the back end of that. And then my second one was 2007. I did 15 months, and in Afghanistan once I got to SF. All right, so I did both countries. All right. Yes, I've worked with Raiders, not so much Marine Recon, right? All right, see what else we got. All right, guys, Ben is coming in here. All right, we're gonna kick this off, and then we'll be good to
What's up,
go.
brother?
Hey, what's up, Ben? How you doing? Can you hear me?
Good, man. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. I'm just warming up the crowd, getting everything ready.
All right.
Um,
Hey, everybody.
we got our regulars in here, Mason, Aaron Love, Hate Club, and then I also have my channel funneled
Awesome.
over. So about decent amount. And as we speak, guys are funneled in. Um,
Cool.
you, when did you get in? You said you got in. Was it two days ago?
No, late last night, so I'm still
Oh
jet lagged
shit.
like crazy. Yeah, been a busy couple months here, but getting adjusted. Just had a good lift today. Bunch of business, bunch of client calls and things today, catching up. So it's been really good, but it's great to be
Do
back.
you
Great to be back with everybody.
now? Do you like doing it, or is that just something that like? Do you like the traveling and doing that aspect of the work, or is this
Yeah,
something
I
that
think
you hope to
so. I
slow
think
down?
so. No, I
Okay.
think I definitely enjoy it. It keeps me definitely interested. I mean, I think it's like one of the things I always talk about with people is that we've got these core human interests and these key motivations, right? And one of them is variety and change and mental and physical stimulation. I mean, so it's definitely there. It gets hard sometimes when it's a lot because you got to really stay focused on your priorities. So and not, and you get tired, and so going to the gym becomes something that is an anchor point for me. But no, I really enjoy it. I mean, I've got fantastic clients that I get to work with, and I learn from everybody I work with, and the places I get to see it's really cool as well too. So very fortunate in that way. But it's good to have a little period at home, no doubt,
Oh, I'm sure. I'm
no doubt
sure.
about it.
Yeah, because I envy you, man. I got two youngins, but I'm like, oh, that sounds so cool. But I got a 3-year-old and a 6-year-old, and it's like at
Oh
that
man, you'll
point of
miss
their
them too
lives,
much.
yeah, like my focus is just on them. But it's like
As it should
now
be.
I know, hey, when I'm in my 50s, I know I
A
got a
hundred, a
I
hundred
I
percent.
got a path to follow, right?
Yeah, 100%, 100%. No, I mean that's like, obviously if my sons were still young and like with me, I'd be totally not excited to travel at all because those times are so precious, that they change so fast. I mean, the 3-year-old to the 6-year-old to 12-year-old, they change. So
I,
no, so that's good. It's a good period of time, and like I always say, I think you got to look at your opportunities and goals and things and what comes up and what opportunities you have and seize the ones that seem to make sense for what you want in life and what works for your values and what will create the right type of environment and future for yourself and those who you love and so I think all those things considered, that's how I try to look at things as I'm navigating the space and what comes up. I think it's important. It makes a difference. And if you already have those kind of outlined, then it makes it easy to make decisions too. So
Absolutely, absolutely. But awesome, guys. So with all that said, Ben, we'll jump right into this one. Again, folks watching, this is going to be a live podcast episode with Ben and I for the first hour, and then we're going to do the men pile around 6 o'clock or so. The rest of the guys will come in and
the
kind of
rest of
fill
the
the
crazies will
gaps.
be in later.
So they'll ask whatever questions that that I didn't ask or whatever gap that there might be, right? So with all that said, Ben, we'll jump this, we'll jump start this one just like I do all the other ones that I've done in the past. So I'll ask you a couple of questions up front, and then we'll jump right into your story, just kind of taking it from upbringing all the way to where you are now, right? So the first one that I like to ask everybody, and I've asked you in the past, curious to see if it's changed or not, but the last book you read and what was it about?
Oh gosh, last book I read, what was it about? Um, Gosh, I'm reading a book by Jim Collins right now. It's like Good to Great 2.0 basically. And but I've been bouncing around from some other ones as well too, you know. So a lot of times, like I was saying, read a lot of stuff from the Harvard Business Review. It's just very relevant for what I do and for kind of the strategic business consulting and coaching that I do as well too, on leadership or on building a culture. So I kind of a couple of them at the same time, but probably the last one I really dug into most recently was Gary Vee's latest book, and he talks a lot about marketing, social media marketing, and how to leverage that for your business. So because those things are all very relevant for what I do for my business, then also for what my clients do as well too, and how they can increase their business, get more revenue, and all those things. But I think it's for everybody listening right now. So no matter whether you have a business right now, or you're trying to establish a personal brand, or you don't have a personal brand established yet, this is the time to do it. I mean, you've all heard all of this, but the free platforms that are out there, from Instagram to Facebook to TikTok to LinkedIn, you can really make a huge difference in anything you're trying to do. If you're trying to get a new job, or you're trying to build awareness on your skills and abilities in your current career, or you are an entrepreneur and you have a business that you're trying to provide more services, more products, and sell. If people don't know that you're in business, you're never going to have any business. Okay, that's a big thing with marketing, right? And then as far as your skill set, the more you can write articles or make videos discussing best practices, standard operating procedures, displaying your expertise and your knowledge in that space, in your arena. I don't care what you do. It doesn't matter if you have a lawn care service, or if you're a painter, you're a plumber, you name it. You just display your skills and ability. You may land the job of your dreams. There may be somebody watching who comes along and says, hey, I'd love you to come work for me. That happened to me recently a few times, but displaying my knowledge in business management, business best practices and growing businesses. I had a few startups approach me to come on and try to either be on their board, or to be their chief operating officer, and maybe growing into being the CEO at some point. And so these things are real, they happen. And so that's kind of my public service announcement to everyone out there, that, you don't have to read a million books. Just get active and create some posts and show your knowledge and what you know. And if you're an actor, show your acting skills. If you're a singer, show your singing skills. Shoot, if you just are a fan and you like a certain TV show, go do that. There's a market for it. You'd be surprised. You'd create a community of people who would pay to be, joining your community, or it could just be a lot of fun for you too. So, but definitely leverage your social media, the social media we have out there, to improve whatever aspects of your life you're most interested in. I highly recommend that. And really, it's limitless today, the reach you can have. There's no more middleman. There's no more, person that's the decision maker that says, oh, you're good enough and we'll put you here. The people decide, right? So the market decides. And now the last thing I'll say on is this, because I know I'm carrying on a lot about this book, but the AI driven algorithms today on all the platforms, it's different. Before, the platforms were like driven by they were driven more by certain things that the platform was looking for. Today, the content you produce out there gets introduced into people's feeds by what they like. So more and more it's driven by just preferences people have. And if your content meets the criteria for what certain people are looking for, then it goes to them. In the past, that wasn't the case. So you have a bigger chance at, quote unquote, going viral today, or getting much more attention and notice, which could lead to all these things I'm talking about, than ever before. So please, 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 if you haven't yet, just get familiar with the platforms. Use them for whatever part of your life is important to you. You don't have to be an entrepreneur. You don't have to be an entertainer. You don't have to be any of these things, right? You don't have to be starting an online business. It could just be you're forming a car fan group. I don't know. You're all fans of Bugattis, and so you want to get as many Bugatti lovers as you can in this space and talk about it. But it could be anything. So you utilize that to your advantage for sure, because it's something that never before in history, honestly, I think I can honestly say that as having been a student of history as well too. Never before have we had this inflection point where you don't have anybody holding you back. And so, you don't have to be the best at everything, but if there's something you're really interested in, curious about, you can really, really connect with so many people. It's amazing. So anyway, that was the basis for the last book I read from Gary Vaynerchuk, and a lot of other things like that. And it just kind of ties into the other books I read from the Harvard Business Review. Jim Collins, a great business professor who's written Good to Great, Great by Choice, all these books. And so that's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah, Gary Vee is awesome. I've been following him on social media since I started on social media because he helps people grow.
He's
And
amazing.
between
Yeah,
him and Think Media and a bunch of other people, I just soak in as much knowledge as I can so I can just there are millions and
for sure.
millions of followers. And I'm like, well, that's where I want to be. So I'm gonna follow somebody that's done it, So
For
he is
sure.
really awesome.
And it's really he
Um,
serves too. I mean, that's the thing is you get to the point where if you're providing a service and helping people and worried less about monetization, I mean, honestly, it could be something you think about at some point. But first of all, you got to be providing a service that helps people or that, changes life. Like, why is the iPhone so big? It changes people's lives, right? Literally. So, I mean, as an example. So if you can do something like that that helps people, entertains them, makes them laugh, makes their day a little better, whatever, then you're on the path for sure to creating something that's very valuable.
Absolutely, absolutely. All right. So next question for you, Ben, before we jump right into it. If you could witness any historic military event firsthand, what would it be and why?
Ooh, Battle of Thermopylae, the Spartan 300 against the Persians, 100%. So I mean, I just think having Greek background, Greek ethnicity, my family's from Greece, and then studied that battle from a different bunch of different angles, whether it was in the Marine Corps or reading the book Gates of Fire, or reading Thucydides, all these different historians, and learning about that battle and just what those 300 Spartans went through, what led them to go to that pass, the Hot Gates in Greece, where they faced certain death. So I'm sure many of you out there are familiar with the 300, the movie and everything. But the thing you think about is this was real. This really happened. And from a Western civilization standpoint, there's a great case to be made that that stand at Thermopylae, at the Hot Gates in Greece, that stopped the Persian army, really changed the course of cultural history because this, the Persians would have conquered all of Greece and basically the roots of Western civilization at that point in history. And so history and culture would have been very much different than we see it today, arguably, from what a lot of experts and professors would say. And so to me, that's fascinating. And yeah, if I could witness that moment in history, would have loved to have seen actually how it went down. Hopefully, I wouldn't be disappointed and find out that it didn't happen or it was something fake. Like they had a handshake. They're like, let's just be friends. Why don't you go home? And they're
That's
like,
a
yeah, but
little bit of Hollywood
let's
too,
pretend there was a great battle. Pretend, it actually happened. Like people who say we never went to the moon or something. I'd be really disappointed if that were true.
ain't
you know, but
Oh
yeah, I
man.
think that would be it. Just because that is so wild to think about, and I think for today says today's society to think that 300 of these knights, right, went to their doom to fight, to hold off this army, to buy time for the rest of Greece to unify, because then the rest of the cities got together, who were always fighting and bickering, they were at each other's throats, and they actually got together and formed an army to stop the Persian army and defeat them decisively. But if it weren't for those Spartans to hold them off for 3 or 4 days or whatever it was, and inflict so much damage that they did, then the whole course of the history of the world could have changed.
Yeah, that's a really good one to go back. I love that movie, so I'm right there with you. I think that
Yeah,
would
I'm gonna go
be
watch it
amazing
again
to
now.
witness. So, with all that said, Ben, why don't we jump right into it?
Yeah.
How was upbringing for you? Where'd you grow up? And what led you to joining the military?
Yeah, so I grew up in Buffalo, New York, just in the south side of Buffalo, New York, outside the south side. And yeah, I mean, for me, it was the son of Greek immigrants, right? My father came from Greece, like I was just talking about. My mother was born here, but her father came from basically the same area that my father did. And so definitely it was interesting, growing up because when you're more or less first generation American, you have a lot of cultural things I think to learn as well too, and you're kind of straddling two different cultures, two different worlds as well. But yeah, I mean, my neighborhood was a lot of boys, a lot of sports, a lot of kids playing like street football, street hockey. It was madness all the way around. Getting into the usual kind of rough and tumble trouble that a lot of bunch of boys all together, 10, 14 boys would at any given time would get into. So and I think sports were definitely looked at very highly. I was the youngest kid in the neighborhood too, so I'd always look at the older kids playing sports and think, I'm going to do that. I'm going to do something like that someday because you want to earn respect. I mean, that's the biggest thing is earning respect. You could earn it a few ways, right? Being the best in sports, being the best fighter, maybe being like the leader. But as the youngest kid in the neighborhood, you're not going to be the leader for sure. That was taken up by my cousin who is 10 years older than me. He was just a madman. So if you're out there listening, he knows my cousin John, good dude. And I had my older brother as well too, 3 years older than me, and a lot of friends in the neighborhood. But overall, good guys, good people. Overall, very blue collar, and so yeah, I mean, I decided that in high school to play football. I did martial arts as well, stuff like that, kind of because you had to be able to defend yourself and everything. Got some good scraps growing up, but then played lacrosse for a little bit, and then started playing football in high school and fell in love with the sport. And I would say it gave me a lot of focus for a kid that definitely I wouldn't say I had like anger issues or anything like that, but just given the way neighborhood was, you could definitely find yourself getting into some trouble and things like that, and kids definitely did. Um, but it focused me to just be in the weight room training, weight training to try to not get in trouble. Definitely found some trouble here and there, but really, really focused me in, and I rode football all the way into college. Was able to get a few offers to play college football, and I chose to go play at the U.S. Naval Academy, which was pretty cool, really cool experience there. Definitely hard, definitely challenging. But when I visited there in high school, they sent me down on an official visit with the team, and met a lot of guys that were doing incredible things at the time. It was like around Desert Storm too, and all of them were raring to go. There's nobody like afraid. Guys were going to be Marines or Navy SEALs or go be a fighter pilot, and none of these dudes were like phased by the fact that there was a war coming. They were all gung ho about it, and I was kind of blown away as a senior in high school. I was like, who are these dudes? These are like Division I college football players, but they're also super patriotic, and they're ready to go to war. All these things, and there's some larger than life figures, and yeah, I said, shoot, I want to do this because I felt like it was the greatest challenge out of all the other places that I had an offer from as well too, or any other place I was interested in going to college. I just said, man, I'm just lucky I have this opportunity. I'm gonna jump on this because it's like nonstop team, nonstop adventure, and real challenge as well too to make me grow. And so went and did that, and that was a fantastic experience. Hard experience for sure. Hard experience from a football standpoint. Some great athletes there. We played some incredible competition, which was also very challenging. Um, but then academically, very hard place too when you're playing, college sports and academically being challenged. I just grew a lot from the experience overall. Met some fantastic people. And they taught you a lot about what I would say probably accountability, self accountability is probably one of the biggest things I learned. Like I could say I learned leadership, I could say all these things, but I think self leadership, time management, and I'll say one thing I really took away from that experience that I would say service academies writ large probably do well is performance under pressure, like learning how to bear a strain where it's an onslaught for years of just so much work, so much academic pressure, so much physical pressure with football that like when I got to the Marine Corps, um, I was used to that. I was really used to it. I was used to like the sleepless nights, getting 3, 4 hours of sleep. Then, hey, we're going to do a mission. I was like, oh, this is all normal. This is all normal. Like these 2 week period where I'm going to sleep 4 hours a night and have to perform and have to keep my mental and physical bearing and not lose my shit, and perform as a leader in front of people. It's just that was pounded into you. And I thought that was very good, and obviously the only way to really become good as a leader, in my opinion, is to learn how to lead and practice, make mistakes, and that takes time, and you're not going to just learn that in a school laboratory environment, but you learned a lot of self-discipline and how to perform under intense pressure and sleep deprivation, all those things. So that was for better or for worse,
Oh,
a
I'm
great
sure. I'm
a
sure.
great takeaway.
Now, as a first generation immigrant, which I don't know if I'm first or if I'm second. Well, yeah, because I wasn't born here, so I'm first
Yeah, you
generation.
are. Yeah.
So coming up, did your family have certain expectation of you when it came to like academics and career? And how did that conversation go down between you and especially your dad? Because I know you guys were close as you were trying to make the decision to, either go to college and play sports or go towards the military academy. Like, how did that conversation unfold?
Yeah, I mean, I think I think it was always an expectation that, I would and expectations matter. Like Jake's talked about this before, right? The expectation was that, you know, you when I'm 18, I'm out of the house. That was a big expectation. You're 18, you're out of the house, you're on your own 2 feet. You're A, in the military, making a way for yourself. B, you start a business and you're kicking ass. Like, I had a lot of my family were entrepreneurs as well too. The Greek immigrants, they're starting businesses left and right, and restaurants. Yes, cliche, but 100%. But that's hard work. I saw that. I mean, I saw the work that my family put in too. Like they lived in these businesses, and it was insane. So that was another kind of like I would always say the immigrant work ethic. I think we can never look past that. So as obviously there's legal immigration is the right thing we want, but there's so many hungry people that would love to come to this country and kick ass for it, and they put in work like you wouldn't believe because of where they come from. So that was the expectation, and then I go to college, and then I was told as well, we go to college. There's no money for college, so you better pay for it. And so I was like, I hate school. I'm gonna be honest with you. Like I was in school in high school, and I thought this is so boring. It wasn't natural for me. I'm not gonna lie. Like later I got better at it. In high school, certain things I would shine in, but I just was not the kid who was like, oh, I can't wait to close my door and study for 3 hours. Or my older brother was literally a genius. Like literally could look at like flip through the book like this, be like, boom, go get 100. And he has the academic record to prove it. He's a brilliant, brilliant guy. But this wasn't me. And so what I did like though, I liked sports. I liked hitting people. Yeah. I mean, end up in the Marine Corps, right? Like Aaron was saying, the crazies go to the Marines. So, I mean, I liked physical contact. I liked all these things. And so it worked for me. Football was really like just a great vehicle for me, for someone who was a little unfocused, and for a number of reasons, right? Because I know some of you out there watching too, school probably wasn't for you either, and so I just used whatever God had given me, my abilities, and just exploited the hell out of them to the best of my ability. And that's why I was talking about, following your passion and finding what you're curious and interested in, what feels like a right fit. And then I worked my ass off in it and focused, and it led to some good things for me. And so I think, as Shakespeare has said, know thyself. You have to know yourself. You have to know who you are, and also who you're not too. I mean, you can grow in many ways, but you'll know when you're not being true to yourself. You'll know when you're not in your right energy channel, as I'll say, so to speak, that everything is flowing. You're in your flow state. And so that was the expectation, was just some type of excellence in some way. The expectation was, make something of yourself, stand up, be a man. That's as I'll joke
Yeah,
sometimes
it's a
with my
really good way
son.
to put it
Yeah.
because it's something about that. Just immigrating to the United States. Because on my end too, I was one out of 7 kids, and my dad made sure everybody understood. Once you hit 18, you're out the house.
Oh yeah.
So it's like my older brother, once he hit 18, off to the Navy, right? My sister, once she hits 18, off to college. I think she went to Plattsburgh up there towards Buffalo.
Nice.
Once I hit 18, I was, off to the Army. So it's like ducks in a row. Every one of us knew, hey, as
Dude,
soon
that's
as we hit
mega
this
success.
milestone, you got to go, right?
As a family,
Yeah.
that's mega success right there. I mean, Look at you, retired
Yeah.
Green Beret. Are you kidding me? That's
No one's
mega
been to
success.
jail.
Right? No, it's huge.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's huge, man. People got to think about that because everyone has their own path they have to follow. But I think we can all strive for excellence. We can all strive for excellence. That's the biggest thing is that your excellence doesn't have to be like my excellence and doesn't have to be who I am. But I do believe, and like this is my own personal philosophy of ferocious optimism, that we all have this unique personal genius that, when we connect with it and we discover what it is and we flow and we work on it, we can become our highest and best self and become our best person to serve society, serve others, and create a life of abundance as well too for ourselves, for other people, and really just provide our best service for the world, for our community, for our family, so on and so forth. When you tap into that unique personal genius, that spark that you have, but if you're paying attention to other people and what they think you should be doing, I think you can be led astray as well. Now, it's okay to listen to people. It's definitely okay to hear many voices, and maybe someone notices something in you that you didn't notice before. And then if you think about it or you notice, hey, this actually is something, there's nothing wrong with that at all. But I'm saying, like, if you're always working to fulfill expectations of other people,
Yeah.
that gets hard. But I would say an expectation of excellence is not something bad. It just has to be excellence in something, mastery of something, so that you can make your way in this world too, right? And it's never too late. It's never
Absolutely.
too early. It's never
Yeah.
too late. So
Absolutely. So now you go to the Naval Academy. How did that develop? Because I know you mentioned you got hurt doing sports. How was your
yeah.
time at the Naval Academy, and what ultimately led you to going towards the Marine Corps?
Well, I had some of I mean, obviously my best friends of all time. I've made at the Naval Academy. Jake's one of them, right? I've known Jake since I was 18, 19. And so I got injured my junior year, second game of my junior year. I got injured in the preseason in a scrimmage, um, making a tackle. I think shedding a block on one play off of big offensive guard, and then making a tackle on our tight end, who's a big dude. Ended up playing for the Detroit Lions for a few years, and so I herniated some discs in my neck, and I stayed on, kept playing through the first two games, and I think we played San Diego State, then University of Virginia, and I just it just wasn't playing like I could. Like I was it was really hard, and so they examined me, and the doctor basically just told me, okay, you're out for the season. Let's see for spring ball if you'll get better. And then he reevaluated me and just said, look, this is, if you take another hit like this, you're going to be a quadriplegic, you know? So he's like, you don't want that. That was an absolute devastation for me. When I say a loss of identity, I can't explain, because football was my everything. It kept me out of trouble. It gave me an identity, it gave me focus. I got to deal with a lot of anger that I had, growing up. Because, I mean, I think people go through this a lot today, but, my parents got divorced when I was like in seventh grade. Definitely came in that kind of, rough and tumble neighborhood where, you're having to defend yourself, stuff like that. And so, again, football gave me that release. And so all of a sudden it was taken away. And I felt I could have really, really spiraled, in so many ways. But when that was when it was taken away, I remember my linebacker coach was an old Ranger too, ex-Ranger, and he was just like, he's like, just get through this. Coach Ray, great dude, man, and I'm still connected with him today. But he was just telling me, stay on. I want you to stay on and to coach, because I was getting ready to leave. I'm like, all right, I want to leave. I want to go and operate. And I was asking him, hey, can I leave and go join the Rangers? I want to try to go to the Rangers and try to go to Delta, go to CAG. And he's like, look, I know you'll be great at it. He's like, but you're in your junior year here. You don't understand how much you've done. So I really credit him with kind of talking me down from the ledge. And he's like, plus you just got this injury too. He's like, you got to heal from it. He's like, if you decide next year that's what you want to do after the season, then I'll support you. You get over to a battalion and then, train up and then take your shot, at Delta and all this stuff. And so I just, I listened to him. I'm glad I did, because he gave me a real opportunity to continue to serve with the team and to really be a leader and to be a college football coach, basically. And so that was a great thing. but it was still such internal devastation I had. But it gave me such a spark again, another spark to be hungry because I got to the top of one mountain, right? I got my scholarship out of high school, which was a dream. Went to the Naval Academy. I'm like, man, I'm starting to actually, to make contributions to the team and to play and all this stuff. And then all of a sudden, boom, it's all taken away. And a lot of the times, for everybody listening to that's how life can go, right? You can achieve such highs, and you get the rug taken out from under you, and you hit this low point, and you spiral, and you lose your identity, and you might lose loved ones, and you don't know how you're going to get out of it, right? And I was in chronic pain. I was in so much pain I couldn't sleep at night from my neck injury. I lost the feeling in my arm. I couldn't bench press anymore. I couldn't do a pull up. It was always really bad. And so I stuck with it, stuck with the team, rehabilitated, strengthened the hell out of my neck. I think my neck was like 19 and a half inches. I was like, got everything really strong because I still wanted to make a choice to go in the Marine Corps and service select so I could go to the Marines and do all that stuff. And so I was lucky because the next year I got cleared that I could actually do it because I could pass all the skills tests, even though there still was damage they could see in the MRI. The doctor said it's going to take a couple of years to heal, but you've done such a great job in strengthening everything. All your strength is back, and I crushed all the physical tests. And so they allowed me to service select in the Marine Corps, and then I went from there, and I just kept very mindful of making sure that I kept being strong and all that stuff. And so eventually, like they said, it took a couple of years, but things did heal up. I was lucky I didn't have to get fusion surgery or anything. I still have some residual pain from it today. I still get like numbness in my fingertips and all that, and still every now and then we'll feel it. Like I was coaching high school football once, and one of our strong safeties ran full force into me from behind. I was like, what the fuck? And first of all, I got my bell rung, and then second of all, this is a varsity player, right? High school football. And at the time, like, when I was playing, I was like, high school player or whatever, but you get a little older, man, these dudes, they run into you full speed. And I definitely felt that one in my neck. I was like, holy crap, that hurt. So there's still some residual pain there. But I would say the overall lesson was it really planted a seed of just like a desire to achieve, and also a realization that nothing is permanent. And I have to really go after everything I want as hard as I can with as much purpose and intensity and intention as I can all the time. And so that's what I did, went in and went to the Marine Corps, was lucky enough to get to select infantry out of the basic school, which people don't realize how it works though. But with the Marine Corps, when you're in the basic school for the officer basic course, it's a 6-month course down in Quantico, and they do this quality spread. So the only way to really guarantee to get what you want is by really being top locked in one of the the top spots, and I performed really well and busted my ass and was able to select into the Marine Corps infantry to be an infantry officer, and that was fantastic. It was great experience. Very hard, very difficult. A lot of hard lessons. A lot of humble pie. You definitely, they put you through your paces, and there's a lot of great leadership, but a lot of tough leadership too that will hold you accountable. So that was early on, especially as a lieutenant. They give you the business pretty good so that you kind of grow up right. Not everybody gets it, but
Yeah.
I
Of
wanted
course.
yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I'm sure. Now, so now, why was going into the military like an option for you? Like, was that something that you always wanted to do? Was that ingrained to you by your dad, or like where did this sense of patriotism, this sense of I want to serve, like where did that come from? Because you could have easily, gone another route, right? So
Yeah,
why
no,
the
for sure.
military?
No, I had some other good schools that had offered me. I had some Ivy League schools as well too. That had offered me to go play football there. But I think for me, like my father served in the Army, my uncle served in the Army, my grandfather served World War II in the Army, and then here I'm in the Marines. I remember, forget, they sat me down. They go, "What's wrong with you?" The Marine Corps. They said, "You want to be a gyrene, a jarhead?" And my uncle was sitting with me. He's a Korea veteran, right? My dad and my uncle sit me down. I knew when I came home, my dad had planned this out. We sit down. They're like, "Oh, come on, let's go talk." I'm like, "Oh, this is bizarre. Like normally it's not my dad and my uncle together. It'll be really kind of just chill." they sit me down in the booth at this restaurant. It was my uncle's restaurant, and they're like, so, you think about the Marine Corps, huh? And my uncle just looks at me. He's like, in Korea, they would machine gun us, and we'd have to hide in the trenches. He's like, and the Marines, they were like, doing these crazy stuff, and he's like, and they'd be killed. He's like, and do you want to be a Marine? I'm like, yeah, I mean, I think so. And he's like, my grandfather, my mom's side, tried to talk me out of the Marine Corps. All he's thinking is of like Tarawa, Iwo Jima, and he's like, don't do it, don't do it. And it turns out they're kind of right in a lot of ways, but you know, yeah, if you want to do see a shooting war, join Special Operations or join the Marine Corps, one or the other. If you want to get in these gunfights, it's pretty guaranteed.
Oh
But
yeah.
yeah, so and then like my grandfather served, I think with General Patton through, North Africa and maybe through Italy. No, North Africa definitely 100%. So a lot of crazy stories. I'd hear this stuff and so he was in. I think he was in the Big Red One, and if I'm right about that, and it was First Division. I think so. You know what I mean? Like they're Army historians know more than me, but this is just my recollection. And my great grandfather was, uh, you know, more or less fought against guerrilla warfare against a lot of different incursions from communists in northern Greece, and then from also like from the Nazi invasion, the Italian invasion, World War II. So like I grew up hearing war stories, and they didn't glorify it ever. It was very cold and calculating, but my understanding was I came from warrior blood, always, and so it was like this was a natural thing. Like, how am I gonna? It was just something that I felt that I had to do, and not everybody feels that way, but I just felt like that was a calling for me to be a warrior, and as I say, not to be a sports person saying I'm a warrior, but no, to be like a warrior. What warriors really do throughout history. Because a lot of people throw that term around warrior lightly, like, "Oh, he's such a warrior." Really? Okay. You want to know what warriors really do? All right. So, and I'm not
Yeah.
calling anybody out there, but it's just
Yeah.
it's like it's a different animal, right? It's a different animal when you are dealing with death constantly and destruction on larger scales, And so I really felt that calling to be a warrior. So for me, that was planned at a young age. And then oddly enough, like when I was young, I think I saw the John Wayne movie, The Green Berets, and I was always like, man, I need to be a Green Beret, like John Wayne. Freaking Puff the Magic Dragon, the whole deal. So
So
somehow,
now, why the Marine Corps and not the Navy? Because correct me if I'm wrong. Like, if you go to the Naval Academy, you can go either way, right? You can go Marine
yeah,
Corps or you
yeah.
can go to
I
Navy.
mean, there's nothing I wanted to do in the Navy. There was nothing except
Yeah,
Navy SEAL. I wanted to be a SEAL 100%, definitely.
yeah.
I tried out, I did all the SEAL stuff, made it through everything. And we started out with like 150 people, and it was over a weekend, like weekend thrash session. They were like cold water torture, everything you can imagine. All the SEALs, they brought a bunch of cadre in and just killed everybody. And I think only 14 of us made it out of 150, and I think Jake was one of my cadre actually. He was like one of the student cadre, and they had
Oh,
they had badge seals obviously there, but I think Jake was probably the most sadistic that everyone, because Jake's a different animal, man. I mean, he's like people don't understand. Like you don't want to tangle with that dude,
yeah. He's
and
built
he
different.
yeah, and like playing football with him, like we had a natural just affinity because we were both kind of crazy men that would fight anybody and all this stuff, and so it was good. But yeah, so that was a great challenge. But for me, it was like my eyesight wasn't good enough at the time, and so I remember talking with the SEAL officer, and he was like, "Look, like we really like you, and we really think you could do the job. Like you're a guy who could do the job for sure." And but like right now we don't accept laser surgery or anything like that. And I was like, and he's like, I think you could. He's like, you could go and do this and then come over. And I was like, oh hell no, I'm not. I don't want to. I don't want to I don't want to go and do something else and then come back. Like I needed like warlike things. I needed warrior stuff immediately. And so, I went and did other Marine Corps stuff too. Like did for like 6 weeks of training with the Marines, and I just fell in love with everybody. They were just next level crazy and fun at the same time. I never laughed so hard in my life because they've just got that gallows humor and just, I'm like, all right, man, this is my place. I'm gonna try and see. I'm gonna try to have them choose me. I'm gonna bust my ass. And so I did really well in all the training and was able to select in the Marine Corps. And then once you select Marines, then it's a whole open thing where again you have to try out now to get infantry, try out to get this, that, the other thing. But infantry was very sought after, and I knew I had to kick ass in my land navigation, all the same stuff for all the selections. I knew I had to be very locked on. I couldn't have any of the captains, the training platoon commanders write me up a bad write up, because then you're out too for leadership and everything. So I busted my ass and was lucky enough that they saw some good things in me, and I was able to select that and then go to the infantry officer course, which was another pretty grueling 12-week course. You learn a ton of good stuff in that course, though, for sure. Just good infantry skills. And anybody who's listening to, the basis for most special operations, the basis for all the cool stuff you see always comes from the infantry. I mean, it's, infantry tactics are just so fundamentally important, make or break a warfighting organization, from discipline to the basic tactical squad level, platoon level, company level tactics, all the way up. So it's so important. I just loved it. I loved it. I fell in love with all that stuff because you're really learning how to fight. And you're really learning how to, use weaponry, all kinds of weapon combinations and things. It was amazing. Yeah.
Absolutely. Now we briefly spoke about warrior, like we call it, like I truly believe there's a thing out there called the warrior genes, right? Like I'm a
Yeah.
firm believer in that because even being like of Haitian descent, like going all the way back to 1804 and fighting Napoleon and all those, like I pride myself in that because I'm like, oh man, like I come from those dudes that defeated Napoleon. I mean, I'm like,
Yeah.
so that's something that I take pride of, kind of like you do with your with your ancestry, right? So I do believe that exists. When it came time to go to war, how was that for you as far as your first initial experience with war, and not only being shot at but also shooting back? Like how did, because it's different for everybody, what I mean? But how was your experience?
Yeah. I mean, I think probably, I would say the first real experience was probably in the Battle of Najaf, and that was in Iraq in 2004. Was with a very experienced infantry unit, and I was commanding a raid force as well. And so uh, it was. I mean, I think it's shocking for anybody, some of the things you see and what happens and the chaos. Especially in an urban fight like that. I was able to be with some really experienced operators as well too. On the special forces side and on the force recon side, and so I think it was definitely interesting, definitely chaotic, and I'm just yeah, so many memories come flooding back, to it, and I think the chaos of it sticks with me in some ways. Um, Probably the shock and surprise of some things, like some of just the way the battles unfold and like that. I think the first time I ever felt extreme fear was on a mission that I was on for that, and we were it was during Fallujah, when Fallujah was going, and we were up out of Abu Ghraib, working out Abu Ghraib, and we were doing raids and things like that, supporting the operations going on in Fallujah, and which is it's very close. It's really close to it. So up at Biop, that whole area, and Biop is the Baghdad International Airport. So I don't start throwing all these acronyms around. No one knows. But so we got done doing a bunch of like hasty raids, things like that, and one of my snipers, I remember one of them kind of getting a little bit spooked, and my team chief came over to me, the sniper chief, and he was like, "Hey, boss, so and so's getting short. He's got a really bad feeling." It was like out of a movie, right? And I was like, "All right." And so we're going out as a 4-man team on like a stay behind mission, like a Trojan horse almost, where they're gonna do a raid, a big infantry raid, and we're gonna leave a small team of snipers behind to saturate, well, not to saturate, but to overwatch a known IED emplacer that we were hunting. And so I was, and so I took up his place, his spot, and so it was 4 of us, and we were, stayed behind in this building in the middle of this kind of a hot area. And one of the biggest fears I had was being shot up by the army. So because because we're overwatching a main place that was getting the fuck bombed out of it, right? IED, like hulks burning, right? They're like burning hulks in this place. So we go in, they smash in there, make a lot of noise, blowing doors down and stuff like that. And so we go in, we set up, all the stuff's going on, and we start tapping out holes in the wall, our loopholes, and all this stuff, and now we have it inside the building, but also on the rooftop too, with the wall surrounding it. And we start laying all of our trip wires and emplacements at the entryways and all this stuff. So because 4 people is not a lot, and this particular mission served me very well for later missions that I did, stay behind missions that were highly successful. This one, long story short, was a little bit terrifying. It could have gotten really, really bad. So we got compromised, and at one point before we got compromised, I'm not sure if the IED emplacer came up or not. I'm not sure, because truck came up, propane tanks, everything that fit the profile. But it was my turn on the gun. I was on the gun at the time. Okay. And so my chief scout was, he was on the glass, and he was just like, basically, I'm waiting, so normally I'm giving green light, but like everybody's rotating on the gun, and on my turn on the gun, we happen to get the Bolo vehicle, the beyond the lookout vehicle comes up about 300 meters, sniper rifle, that's nothing, right? So I'm dialed in, I'm right on this dude's head. I got him in the crosshairs right in his head, and team chief's just talking to me. He's like, okay, wait, headshot, standby, headshot. He's like, hold. I'm just waiting. I'm just like, breathing through. And I'm just like, I'm gonna clock this dude, and I'm gonna clock his friend, and then I'm gonna freaking switch over to my main weapon and go to town. Because the whole place is gonna wake up. So somehow he must have gotten word, because like he got a phone call or something, and he would not touch the propane tanks. And so clear criteria was that he had to touch him. And it's like, and so as a commissioned officer too, I'm like, I can't just smoke this guy, because it's like, there's going to be an investigation. There always is. At this time there were. And so I'm like, I'm just waiting. He gets out, and he's on the phone looking around. All of a sudden he gets in the car, and they drive away. And I'm like, fuck. And so then all hell breaks loose, right? And so people start coming out of the woodwork. Long story short, it was, I remember getting this alkaline taste in my mouth, and it was like, that's like extreme fear, like that copper taste. Because there were a fuck ton of people, and people were starting to go up on the roofs around us, and we switched over from soft, to putting all of our bullet bouncers on and shit to assault gear. And so, but people were popping up on the roofs, and my chief scout drew down on this dude, but the guy popped down too fast before we can get him. And so now we're pinpointed, and people start crowding, trying to make entry. We got claymores and shit down there. This is about to turn into a shit show, And I'm just like, I told him, I was like, fuck it, us before them. Like, they're hearing it from me, from the captain, fuck it, it's us before them. I said, they make entry, targets, they're hostiles, And one dude looking at me, he's like, fuck yeah. And I was like, but then I knew from past experiences, that sounds all cool for everybody, but all it's going to take is a volley of RPGs, and we were fucked. Because the explosions that occur from the RPGs, the rocks hitting you in the face and everything like that, it's so suppressive. And if they make entry down there at the same time, our claymores would get the first few people. But the dude in the hallway would have to really hold in that hallway hard. And and killing people definitely I know I'm getting really graphic right now, everybody, but killing people definitely will hold people back. When you cause casualties, that's why when we do an ambush, we have to cause a casualty when we make sound. If you don't cause the casualty when you make sound, they got you. Professional soldiers don't fuck around. They're gonna be like, okay, my friend got killed, cool. We're gonna finish you now, and then I'll deal with that. They can compartmentalize, and I knew that this was a pretty rough area. You know, we just been mortared. We've been mortared like every day, and we go on a mission, we get fucking mortared. It was, you know, so they were a lot of pros out there, and so we luckily got a hold of the QRF, came in, got us out of there. You know, I mean, you have two infantry platoons come flying in there in like armored vehicles and everything. You know, nobody's sticking around for that. No one's sticking around for that business. I don't care who you are. You know, everyone talks about how hard the Taliban is. Okay, they'll shoot at you from 500 meters away. Okay, whatever.
Yeah.
You know, nobody's sticking around for a bunch of crunchies that come in with upgun systems and birds coming overhead. And so we got out of there. Thank God we got out of there, because I really still believe, had we not had the great QRF from my friend's company there, we might have been, this might have been the last stand for old Pappas, you know. And I'd like to say I wouldn't have been dragged through the streets or any of that, but I don't know. I mean, I definitely would have tried to have been killed before that happened, for sure. So anyway, that's
Oh,
my pleasant little story for everyone. There you go.
absolutely. And fucking Becky in the chat, you know, would be disappointed. She would be devastated. You know, she never got a chance to meet you.
Oh, well, thank you.
Now, fast forward, you do what, 20 plus years? Like, so after going through that, like, what made you, I guess, want to make a career out of it, and not just get out and go pursue other things, right? So what made you make a career out of the Marine Corps?
You know, I think like example, like the first tour, I think you feel like that chaos and fear, and you feel like, you know, kind of one of those things where you could have, you know, you could have done better, and you could be better, because I think, you know, combat's a tough thing, right? It's very unforgiving, and so um, I had a chance. I had tried out for Force Recon before that tour, and I know they were observing me as well to see how I did in combat too. And so right around that time, and all this stuff I was just describing came in, the CO offered me to be one of his platoon commanders, direct action platoon commander, which is a big deal. There are not many operators from Force Recon back in the day, at least. This is, you know, when MARSOC was just coming around, and so it was, you know, completely honored at that. So basically, I left that tour. I had about 30 days of leave from this combat tour as described, and you know, there are a bunch of other stuff that happened too. I'm just, you know, going into one that was really for that first tour really stuck with me, a story that stuck with me pretty good. I had about 30 days of leave, and I went through the full Force Recon qualification, training, and everything like that, and took command of my direct action platoon. We did a short 4-month workup, and I was back operating in less than a year, back in country, doing you know, full out direct action, very well supported, a great command structure, everything like that. And so I just fell in love with my men, the people, and the mission, and I started feeling like I really like this is a place for me. And frankly, I probably never ever want to stop doing it, just doing that mission for the rest of my life. But you know, I also had kids and things like that, and so I really had to consider. You know, trying on to do some other things as well too, because I'm definitely that person that gets obsessed, and I could have just disappeared in that world and never come out. So, but you know, stuck around it enough, which was good.
Yeah. Now, so you got ready to transition and actually get out. Like, how was that for you? Because I know we all go through that. You know, like, what am I gonna do once I get out? Like, how do I find new purpose and all of that? Like, how was that transitioning for you, and how did you
Yeah, man,
figure it out?
I think it's hard. I think it's really, really hard. I think when I left after a couple combat tours, you know, I left MARSOC at the time. It was Force Recon. We transitioned from First Force Recon into First Marine Special Operations Battalion. MARSOC stood up, and I just I remember honestly feeling like I was gonna have a heart attack, because I was leaving the guys, you know, and it was one of the hardest things ever. And so then coming back to MARSOC and then leaving again, after command, after the battalion command at Second Raider Battalion, I think, I had a lot of things I had to kind of deal with from the past. A lot of things happened on that tour as well too. I lost a number of people in that tour, and fantastic, fantastic guys. That was very, very hard to deal with, and so I think, I'm just being honest with everybody. Like, I went through the NICO program, then through a good amount of therapy, really trying to prepare myself for getting out and for what that's going to be like. But it was very hard because you lose your identity. But I knew it was the right thing for me at the time because I had done everything I wanted to do. I felt like it was nearing towards the end of the long war as well, and I just, it's one of those things. How much is enough? It's never enough, right? From our communities, it's never enough, and it's unfortunate, but it is enough. It is enough, and I had a number of people tell me, "Hey, you're good. You're good. You know, you've done great contributions. You've looked out for all your people, all those things like that." So it's all this stuff that kind of goes through your head. And for everybody listening out there too, I mean, I'm sure you go through those things on a different scale or for different things. You have, let's say you're changing relationships, you lose your identity, right? And you have a lot of questions, a lot of hard things come up. Let's say you're changing careers, the same thing. Anytime there's change, there's some pain, right? Because you're restarting things. And so changing that identity and getting good with myself and saying, hey, things that happened, I'm okay. Things that I did, things that I didn't do, it's all okay. It's time to drive on and use these lessons now to serve other people and to help other people to the best of my ability. And that's how I make sense of all of it. That's how everything has meaning, is that if I can use my experiences to help people that are listening today, help people that are here with us today, and I appreciate everybody being here today. And if I can help my clients, my followers, anybody who wants to listen through my experiences or through inspirational talks I give, whatever, then it all has meaning. And I think that's the biggest thing with life, is that when we can create meaning from the things that have happened in our lives, or whether we were in control of it or not, then it has a purpose and it serves, and life gets more satisfying. Life has more meaning, more joy to it as well too. And so I think that's the biggest thing I've focused on through the transition, is all of that. And it's interesting because it's been, gosh, 5 years now since I got out, and I can't even believe it. It feels like some things, as you know, and I'll say this for everybody, but like some things in combat, they will talk about, how it gets burned into your mind. It feels like you're still there, or it's happened, because when you have a highly emotional event with all these chemicals that are going on, like, neurochemistry and neuroscience, that they'll talk about, where it changes the structure and the pathways of your brain. And so that's why a lot of things feel like they're still there. And it takes a lot of work to kind of step back from it and say, like, okay, you're not still there. This isn't still happening. You're good, and the things that you did and you went through have meaning for other people and can serve. And so that's what I've tried to focus on. But yeah, definitely transition was not easy, man. How about for you? Was it?
I'm still trying to figure it out.
Yeah, you're really fresh, brother. So go easy on yourself,
Yeah. Yeah, it's one of those things, like, because I'm still around it. Like, I'm still right outside of Fort Bragg,
Oh
right? So
yeah,
I go
yeah,
to the
yeah, yeah.
gym. Like, I go to the gym on post every morning. You know what I mean? Because I'm like, I still want to see soldiers. I still want to talk to them. Like,
Oh yeah,
and now that I'm doing mentorship, like, they'll come up and pick my brain. So
that's good.
I'm, yeah. So I'm fully in it because I'm not ready to fully, like, remove myself from it,
Yeah,
right?
I think that's really
Um,
healthy actually and good. Because I mean, I'll tell you, like one of the things I learned for me with PTSD is avoidance. And avoidance, like I wanted nothing to do with anything. I didn't want to see any military, talk to any military. I didn't want to, anything. It was actually, I had a physical reaction to it. It was really crazy. It was like, um, and why? Why? It was like I had plenty of people that loved me and I loved them. It's just but just too many things came up that didn't feel okay.
yeah,
And so, um,
yeah. Like, for me, like, I like it so much. Like, I don't ever want to be completely, like, removed from it, because me personally, like being an immigrant from Haiti, like the military's done so much for me. Like hell, like 4 out of my 7 siblings have all served. You know what I mean? So it's done so much for me. And as far as discipline, accountability, just delayed gratification. Because yeah, love my folks, but dude, they were immigrants in New York City. They had to work, so I had to go somewhere else to get all of that. And the military was giving me that. So it's like, man, however I can give back to it and, like help, the guys that are out there that are trying to be like us, then by all means, man, like I do
I think that's
whatever I
awesome.
can.
I think that's awesome.
Yeah,
And like, yeah, and I mean, I still am connected with a lot of my guys, and still, people reach out for things, and I definitely, help out. And it was like a great moment for me, probably like, I don't know, a little while ago. One of my old guys needed to get a service dog, and he'd been through so much shit, and I know everything he'd been through, and for some reason they were giving him a hard time with the service dog, and I just contacted one of my clients who's mega tech entrepreneur, and I was like, hey, I hate to do this. I said, but he's like, don't say another word. Boom, sent the money, got him the service dog. I was like, I mean, it was just like the best thing, the best feeling, so.
that's awesome, man. That's awesome. Now, do you credit before the freaking crazies make their way in here? How much would you say that your upbringing and also your military career has to do with the person that you are today?
Oh gosh. I mean, upbringing probably what I would say is that like one of the things what's up, man? I would say one of the big things with upbringing, is that um I remember I'd say probably my mom talking to me a lot about, having a calling and having a calling in life and making sure that you have a calling, making sure that, you know, you go after things that you're inspired for, because you're going to work anyway. So you may as well work in something that you feel really driven in and really excited about. And that for me, that was the military. For me, that was football and then the military. It was like, I mean, think about some of the stuff we did. It's like, it's insane. Some of it's insane. Like the stories, the positions we were put in, like the last story I just told, but it's so fascinating and so interesting. I mean, I never felt like, oh God, I hate this. Well, I mean, there are days, there are days where you're gonna do something painful, but then you get really pumped up. You're like, wow, it was so cool. And then being around all the amazing people. But I would say definitely my upbringing that way, probably a lot of the values are put into me. But then the leadership, the accountability, the planning, the discipline that I had in all of my Marine Corps leaders, I mean, I like some better than others, some of my leaders I had, but I would say I learned from all of them, and I learned, a lot of good things because I do think they all had good intentions, across the board, and I mean, and being really held accountable for my actions, and that's something that I can't duplicate. It's the best business school you can imagine, right? I mean, it's the best life school, because it's just like, what's the price you're going to pay for your lack of performance? Well, it could be the death of people around you. It could be your own death. It could be failure on something that's really, really important. And, also, just moving with a sense of purpose, simple things like that. Everything you do it with vigor, do it with intensity, plan it out, do your reconnaissance, all those things. So, yeah, I mean, I think it has to do probably with probably 80%. I'd say the last 20% is just my own internal makeup, maybe even more, maybe 90%. And the last 10% is just my own internal makeup, like you said, what genetic inheritance I have and stuff like that. So,
That's awesome. Um, Aaron, whatever you do, no screen sharing, please, because I don't want any lag on my end. But Ben, I appreciate you sharing your stories with us, man. Because again, it was short and straight and to the point. It's something that we're trying to do on this channel, just to incorporate like the podcast aspect of it.
yeah,
So
my
let us know
pleasure,
in the
man. Thank you.
chat.
Thank you
Yeah.
for everybody listening.
Oh, absolutely. Hey, Becky was here. She made it known.
All right,
She was
good.
in the
I'm glad.
chat.
Yeah, is Becky, you
What's up,
said?
Aaron?
Hey, Becky.
Hey, first and foremost, you fellas, you look good. You sound great. I was listening to the live over on Twitter on my Twitter. It was fantastic. Ben, thank you so much, man. Like you're always open and honest and vulnerable. It's always like you can always tell when somebody's telling the truth, right? It's easy to
Thanks,
hear
brother.
somebody that's genuine and actually cares about what they're saying, man. So I'll be the first one to say it, man. Thank you. That was awesome.
Thanks so much, man. I appreciate that. It means a lot.
Do we need to send out a party to find Jake, or
You got a whole DJ on the channel. I can't like if you need to assign me to Jake to make sure that he's here, he's like, man, I'm coming in hot. I need that link. I'm like, here's the link. Less than a second later, and still no Jake. So it just is what it is, you know. Who knows? Who knows?
Yeah. Aaron, did you have any additional questions for Ben while you were listening to his story, or anything else you want to ask him?
Yeah, you know, and it's just, of course, because, you know, I'm a narcissistic person and I project, like, you know, I'm going through this transition as well. You're further on the path than me. So as a mentor, you mentioned that feeling of having a heart attack as you were leaving the teams. You mentioned how connected you were and how it made you a person and all those trials and tribulations that you went through before. Did you have a mantra? Did you have some sort of thing that you would just repeat to yourself in your head day by day when things weren't great? Because, I mean, there are days that I feel great, and there are days that I feel like I don't have a purpose, and, you know, what am I doing with my life? Like, how did you overcome, at least in those initial phases?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, for me, like I said, I went into the NICO program, into a lot of therapy, and I was kind of like, that was something that I think was a game changer for me. And then focusing on my physical fitness and on working out, I think, you know, being kind to yourself is really important. And so I'm trying to think, I mean, as far as like a mantra, I think self-talk is very important. Asking yourself the right questions, and then, you know, asking also, asking yourself the right questions and saying the right things to yourself. You know, you don't beat yourself up too much for what you're feeling or what you're thinking. Definitely try to stay away from any type of prescription medication abuse with alcohol. I don't recommend it. It will be not make life better. In the moment, you'll feel better. And for everybody listening, I mean, honestly, for the moment, you'll feel a little better, but it leads to a lot of badness, you know, I mean, and I'm not like, you know, I still drink alcohol, and but I think you also have to have an awareness that when you drink the next day, you might not feel up, you know, you might feel down. And so that might be the reason why you'd feel down. So give yourself a couple days or more, or don't drink, you know, or cut it back. And so I think those were things that, if not a mantra, they were recurring. I focused on wellness, physical fitness, on my sleep. And what I will say is this: I kept on believing that whatever it is I'm going to do, I'll figure it out. I just kept believing. I haven't figured it out yet, but I'm going to figure it out. That was my faith. Literally, I would walk around at my old house where I lived, and I'd walk around with my dog, and I would just like, I just wouldn't think of like so much exactly how I was going to do things. I would just tell myself, I'm going to figure this out. I'm going to figure out what's next. I'm going to figure out, I don't know what it is, but I'm going to. And I kind of stayed in that sniper bubble, so to speak. I was stayed in that bubble of, you know, letting no negativity in, and just believing that I'd figure it out. So that was probably a big mantra, you know, a meditation almost. Made a difference.
Fantastic. Thanks, man. Jake, how you doing, my brother?
Yo, we killing it, man. Let me tell you something.
Listen to the silky smooth audio.
Let me tell you something. We in the back cave, and it is on fire. We got it all worked out, my guy.
Looks good, Jake. Do you have any questions for Ben? I know you were in the chat listening. Is there anything that you wanted to ask him, or anything that you think he needs to share with us?
You talking to me?
You know him the longest.
Yo, Ben, let me tell you something, man. I listened to the whole thing. It was fire, bro. Like,
thanks, brother.
It's an honor for me to be on here with you. You know, I've known you a long time, man. And you know, I said sorry in the chat for killing you. And I don't even remember going to SEAL training. Like, if I was out there, I know I was murdering cats, man.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I know I was murdering cats, but
Jake put us all in the water, freezing cold water. People were like, they're frozen. They're like floating away. He's like, fuck them motherfuckers. They can't make it. He's like, crazy Pappas, get over here. I was like, I couldn't move. I'm like swimming like this. And I get over in the Severn River. I'm like floating away. Like there's ice around us. He's like, get up here. Grab that fucking pallet. He's like, grab that pallet. Put it on your back. So I'm carrying like pallets. And he's like, run. All these motherfuckers are pussies. You're not pussy. Run. So I couldn't move. I literally couldn't move. I was frozen. And then fucking all of a sudden my legs wake up. I took off and I was like flying, you know. And he's like, I'd have you fight some people too, but we get in trouble, you know?
Hilarious.
That's the football, man. They don't want to take no football cats, right? Like,
That's
so
right.
this is the dig on the Naval Academy is the football players are the dudes that want to fight, right?
Right.
But we're all fat and out of shape, man. We training for 40 yards. We ain't trading for 40 miles.
Right.
And so, like, cats like Ben Papis are out there murdering it in football shape. I was lucky. I went when I was in wrestling shape. And so it was different for me. Like, I was in great shape. But it's crazy to me because, like, Tom Rhino, Clint Bruce showed up to Buds at 255 pounds, having just been in OTAs for the Baltimore Ravens.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But I mean, come on.
He's a different animal too. Clint's a pretty fantastic athlete, you know.
He was fast, man. 255 running 4.5. Stupid.
Yeah. No, he could rip someone apart. I mean, that's the thing. Like, people always be like, oh, I'm like, let me tell you something. That cuddly looking big guy right now benches like 500 to rip your fucking arms off. Like, you know, be careful. You don't piss him off, dude.
So crazy, Ben. It's funny because I don't even remember that stuff. You know how, like, I tell people at the Naval Academy, you have selective memory.
Yeah.
And a lot of stuff happens and you just let it go because you ain't in the best place to be like having a fun time. It ain't like when I went to Michigan. I probably could give you out of the, 500 days that I was at the University of Michigan, I could probably give you a play-by-play for 400 of them. You know what I'm saying? Naval Academy, like, I got 7 great memories, you know?
100%. Compartmentalization.
Remember the people that it was happening to, the people that are getting fucked up, they remember it.
I remember.
Yeah.
Well.
I love you, Benny.
I love you, man.
Yeah, I appreciate you, Ben, and I appreciate you guys jumping on. Folks in the chat, thank you guys for watching this entire hour plus of me speaking with Ben. Let us know in the chat, because this is something that we're trying to figure out, if we should do men pile style interview or if we should do one-on-one, kind of like I did with Ben. Let us know, because we'll be eager to hear from you guys, because we're trying to figure out what works, right? And then based on you guys' feedback, we'll go from there. But with all that said, Aaron, we're going to talk about a couple of things. An assassination attempt, debate, and also political updates, right? Let's talk about the assassination attempt first. Are we becoming immune to this shit happening? Because
I think you're right.
Yeah, the second one disappeared faster than a story about a bridge collapsing or a train collapse in Ohio or, the Vegas shooting. Like, it just, we've completely forgotten. So the things that I'll lay out the facts here. A guy named Ryan Ruth, who voted Republican reportedly in 2016 and since had a falling out. He wrote an entire book. It sold 0 copies, where he talked openly about assassinating President Trump. He donated more than 40 times to Act Blue since 2016. He fought in Ukraine and was his main point of contention with former President Trump was actually Ukraine. That's where the assassination comment came from, right? So basically what happened is that President Trump, who had not forecasted his whereabouts, and again, I'm going to try to stay away from conspiracy theories because you all know I live in that world. So Ryan Ruth parked himself near a fence that was normally patrolled. However, on this day it was not. He had a backpack full of ceramic plates, which he put up in front of his shooting position for reasons. If you don't understand those tactical reasons, feel free to go ahead and Google them. I'm not going to tell you them here because we'll get demonetized for it. But he had two backpacks of ceramic plates. He had an SK rifle with a scope on it. He was about 400 yards away from where President Trump was going to go. So basically, he waited in those bushes for 12 hours. The Secret Service was going ahead of President Trump at one of his properties. President Trump decided to golf for that day. The Secret Service agents that were going ahead of him on the golf course to make sure that nobody was ahead of him saw an actual rifle barrel pointing out of this tree line behind this fence and opened fire. They shot at least 4 to 5 times. They did not hit Mr. Ruth any times at all. However, they were able to see the car that he drove away with. It was stolen plates, but they were able to follow him and apprehend him and take him into custody. Now, a couple interesting things here. Ryan Ruth has subsisted on $3,000 a month. He is a roofer, lives in Hawaii, traveled to Florida, and had a residence in other states as well on $3,000 a day, $1,200 of which reportedly he was putting to a fund in order to help people get to Ukraine to fight on the side of Ukraine. So now naturally you might think to yourself, wow, that's a pretty tight budget to get from Hawaii to Florida to camp out with an SK. and a scope and glass and all those other things. We're just going to speed right by it. So the couple interesting things that we have found out since the apprehension of Mr. Ruth is that Governor DeSantis, and I think this is probably the most interesting angle, right? Which is a crazy thing to say about a presidential assassination attempt. I remember these faces when we got on when President Trump was first shot at, when just by the hand of God, he turned his head to the left and it missed and hit him in the ear. I remember how upset we were. And then this time we didn't even text. We were just like, man, it's so normal. You know, to your point, Jay, it's so
we're
normal.
immune to it, man.
I was talking with my 19-year-old daughter. We were just, you know, I'm very careful how I tread with her, right? I don't want to tell her what to think. I want to talk about how she's thinking and what she's thinking about. And we were just talking about, you know, just, you know, random stuff. I was like, hey, what issues are really concerning you? Like, I'm not a sophomore, you know, in a liberal, you know, she goes to college in a very liberal city. I was like, hey, you know, you go to college in a liberal city. What are you guys talking about? She's like, you know what I want to do? I want to quit living through things that are never supposed to happen in a lifetime. I've done 2 this week. She was like, I read about presidential assassinations in history books, and this is the second one. And the immediate thing that the media said right away was Trump's rhetoric caused all this violence, and he should turn his tone down. And then Karine Jean-Pierre called him a threat literally that day, the same day, from the pulpit up at the White House. So, you know, all these things kind of rolled into it. To answer your question, number one, yes, I do believe that we're getting sensitized to it. Number two, the most interesting point that I want people to pay attention to is Governor Ron DeSantis has actually claimed jurisdiction because he broke multiple jurisdictional laws, and the most of which attempted murder. He broke those inside of the state of Florida. This is not a federal crime. This is classified as a state of Florida crime. Governor DeSantis and the law enforcement agencies are taking lead, and they're refusing to let the FBI take over the investigation of Mr. Ryan Ruth, which is super interesting because he went on Fox News 2 nights ago and he said something to, you know, I'll paraphrase, but he said, you know, the question was, has the government, the federal government, been willing to work with you, and have they been cooperative? And he said, to a point, absolutely no, they have not. He was like, I hope their tune will change now that I've kind of blown the lid off this, but they haven't been cooperating with us at all. They're stonewalling at every turn. He said the state of Florida is going to conduct this investigation because the last one didn't go so well, you know, and there is a very spicy joke out there that says Governor DeSantis is not letting the same people that are trying to kill President Trump investigate President Trump. He said exactly, the paraphrase was not exactly that. Governor DeSantis said, why would I let the people that are trying to prosecute this man investigate the people that are trying to kill them? That doesn't make any sense. I'm a disaffected third party. We're going to go ahead and we're going to take this inside the state of Florida. I think that's probably the most interesting angle. But Jay, to your point, and that's a great point, we are becoming desensitized to it 100%. The political
you know,
violence.
just jump in really fast
Go
to
ahead,
say
man.
one thing. You know, and you know what bothers me about the whole thing when people say, "Oh, it's his rhetoric that's brought this on." Okay, so how is that okay? You know, we talk about, you know, the proper use of force, about proportional response, all these things in the military. So because, I mean, you know, I'm saying, or a Paladin high school kid, a high school kid that's speaking their mind all the time, talking trash, does that then allow us to go out back as a gang and shoot them? And we're like, well, you know, they were talking a lot, so of course they got shot out back.
Right.
How is that okay?
Well,
I mean, I don't understand.
He's
Doesn't make sense. That makes no sense to me. It's just like, it's hypocritical because, you know, while we want all these protections, protect everybody, free speech. Well, here's a guy doing free speech. He's saying what he was saying. There's a lot of people supporting me. Oh my God, he's actually a former president. Wow. And so it's now we're going to blame him for him getting shot at now in the assassination attempts. I just don't, you know, I mean, yeah, he's in the game. Yeah, it's controversial. I understand all those things. I'm not naive to that. But I'm saying it's not okay. We can't normalize that. That's not okay. Right. Like, oh, we had it coming, you know?
Right. Yeah.
It's a form of tyranny. Again, to me, it's a form of tyranny to take away the people's choices by, you know, trying to assassinate someone. That's tyrannical. It's taking away our choices as Americans. You know, whether you want Trump, you don't want him. The last thing we should want is to support political violence, like a lot of these you know, emerging democracies do. They you know, they have so much political violence where the factions will make your decision for you through murder and, you know, assassination.
Or maybe they'll just give you a presidential candidate through a soft coup that nobody voted for, and then you have to deal with that cackling him. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe they do it a bunch of different ways. So to button up the assassination attempt, the assassination investigation is still underway. We still don't know anything about the last assassination attempt other than, you know, what they told us, and that faded from everybody's memory even quicker than this one did. You know, the investigation into Crooks and the actions that he took, and if he acted alone, it was essentially right after the event was like, oh, he acted alone, so we're just going to go on. And then unfortunately we had, you know, within a month, you know, President Trump getting possibly shot at again. So the to make it clear, though, Ryan Root did not get any shots off. The Secret Service engaged him beforehand, and he is in custody right now, and the state of Florida is going to take that. So it's an interesting angle to see what Governor DeSantis is going to do and what he's going to turn over. And then more importantly, I think Governor DeSantis is on full-on burn-it-down mode. I think every time, and I think the FBI probably knows this, I think what they should have taken from the Fox News piece that DeSantis did the other night was a shot over the bow. Like, hey, I'm going to investigate this, and as we turn stuff up, if I ask you about it and you tell me that you're not going to help, I'm going to go right back to Fox News and go, hey, nope, they're stonewalling us. They don't want to understand the investigation. I think that's going to be a whole lot of pressure coming from DeSantis and working into that investigation. So we shall see.
Jake?
So it's my understanding. I had a great conversation with a former SEAL that I worked with who was awesome. And he was talking about that they finally got through Congress. All running presidential candidates are going to get full presidential security details. So I think that's kind of interesting, right? And then my funny for the day is I have an over-under on my YouTube channel of 4 assassination attempts. I'm not really trying to poke fun at the situation, but we've far and well exceeded the lands of ludicrousy at this point in America. Okay. And I kept saying to my guy, man, we're turning into Venezuela, and it's going to get real rough. I know that. That's my 2 cents.
Yeah. Yeah, and they did pass that bill, so he was granted full presidential protection. He did not have full presidential protection before, even after the first assassination attempt. They did not grant him the full cadre of Secret Service to protect President Trump. But Mike Johnson, they just passed the bill that everybody's going to get it, and they did approve, the Biden-Harris administration did approve full presidential protection for Donald J. Trump about 2 days ago, I believe. You'd have to go check out Babe Does the News. That's a great internet account to follow, so go to Instagram and check out Babe Does the News. Sounds wacky, but it breaks news stories super early, and there's very rarely a time where she breaks something that doesn't turn out to be true. So interesting.
Well, it's crazy because, sorry, Aaron, it's crazy because even though they've approved this package, it's not going to deter anybody. That's not the point. The point is, I've yet to actually see somebody from the other side come out and say, hey, this is not what we're about. Stop doing this. Don't do it. Right? Because you can throw as many bodies as you want at this dude. There's still somebody out there in the bushes or in their mother's basement somewhere plotting on how to take this dude out. And you only need so many attempts before somebody's successful.
Right.
So what they really need to do is somebody needs to stand up. A leader needs to emerge, you know, and just cool the temperature and say, hey, quit taking shot at this dude. Because we all know it's coming from the other side, right? Like everything we've seen so far points to the other party. So somebody from that party, if they truly wanted to stop, whether it's Barack or somebody that has some fucking, was it wasta, that word that they use in the Middle East? Somebody that has some freaking power can stand up and say, hey, like, stop, like, quit doing this. Because that's what it's going to take. And the fact that no one has done that on that side of the things, it just blows my mind. And it's just going to keep happening.
Yeah, that's correct. And if only we had a president, you know what I mean? Like, people forget the fact that we actually have, President Biden is still the president. Everybody said, come
on, man, Aaron, come on. I hate to interrupt you. That dude is asleep. He's in permanent catatonic sleep. Okay, I know you say he's the president, but we can't wake that man up right now. Okay, I just want to throw that in there.
I got you. Yeah, and the closest President Biden did, he came out a day afterwards and he was like, you know, listen, political violence has no problem here, but you can't keep turning the rhetoric up. Like, the problem is that behind every single one of their platitudes, there is yet again them calling him a threat to democracy, them calling him the worst thing that's going to happen, literally Hitler. You can't do that for 5-8 years and then expect people not to be radicalized by those things, no matter how you want to happy talk it away at this point. And I think to your point, Jake, I think that's the reason why nobody, Jay and Jake, I think that's why nobody has come out and said unequivocally, I condemn this. This is disgusting. I'm calling on everybody to stop it, because it would undermine their that's their entire narrative. There is no other narrative for the 2024 election other than orange man bad, Democrats good, elect the BIPOC lady. That is the narrative for the 2024 election, regardless what they want to tell you, regardless of what, bullcrap, Oprah, word salad you want to see from Kamala Harris. That is the only election narrative, is that this man is evil and we have to keep him out, and it's for the soul of America, and this is going to be the last election and all the rest of it. None of that is true. None of that is
That's
true.
a bad narrative to push, man, because there's patriots out there that's going to take it and twist it.
Right.
And keep fucking taking shots at.
Yep, you're correct.
Right.
Yep. So,
Aaron, do you want to hit that question from the super chat real quick so we can get that out of the way?
I would love to. Mason, I love this one. If you could use one medieval weapon in mutual combat, what would it be? Jake, start with you, because, oh, man, I think you got one.
Oh, brother, no questions asked. Bow and arrow, guaranteed kill out to 100 yards.
Come on.
And provides you standoff.
Yeah.
Wait, what was the question again?
Let's go melee weapons first. So the question is, which medieval weapon in mutual combat, or if you could use one medieval weapon in mutual combat, what would it be? Let's go with melee weapons first. Let's go hand to hand.
Okay, then I'm going with Japanese katana. Going with Japanese katana.
Okay, solid. Ben, what do you got?
I've just, as I kind of told in some of the narrative, like, I'm a definite believer in combat. I'm not fighting fair. It's not a fucking boxing match. I'm gonna find you. I'm gonna have a catapult with burning tar shot.
Yeah. The trebuchet.
Fuck that shit. JDAM, man, in effect. I don't give a fuck. There's no honor. Fuck that shit. Dude.
So you'd use the trebuchet. Awesome. So that gets you your standoff, and that gets you your ability to lay siege to castles. But what are we doing for melee? Like, if you have to fight in a phone booth, what weapon are you taking?
Ooh, probably a Roman sword. Short. Because I can get up into you real quick and just hack away and stab away. I mean, you think about that's like what they would use in like the phalanx. They'd have obviously the spears and all that, but if we're in a phone booth, we're that close, definitely something to where, I can bulldog and grind and just.
That's good. That's violent, and I worry about you, and we're going to need to talk after this. Jay, what medieval weapon would you use if you were going to use one? And we'll go standoff, and we'll go, close quarters.
Yeah. So for standoff, I would use the bow and arrow.
Okay.
Yeah, I like those, and then I would have to say, I like the sword, man. The Roman sword, because I'm a big fan of. Sadistic as it is, like, I like to look at people as I'm.
I never thought I'd say this, but in order of people that I'm worried about this podcast, Jake Zwig is like number 3. Man.
I
know. How is Jake Zwig of all people the calm person that I'm not worried about? Okay, so we got.
I like to look at them.
I like to look as the life slips from their eyes, from their.
Hang on, I want to say something. Okay? I want to say something. Okay, so on my channel, one of my viral videos is the fact that I said that pretty much all special operations are complete sociopath serial killers. Okay. And everybody hates me for it. They're like, no, that's not true.
I don't disagree with that.
I'm like, can I please get an amen for the killers on this channel now?
Hell yeah.
Because these dudes are breaking it out.
No. Again, I go back into it. It's a different world. And you got to think about this. Isn't like, we get our blood up, we're going to do it once, and I'm going to make a fucking song about it. No, this is years of improving, getting better, reflecting on how you did it, getting better at it, getting good with the internal changes. I mean, this is real shit. Getting good with the internal changes that occur in you here to harden you into being that person on an individual operator level, but then also the leader of other killers. I mean, and then also making sure you're doing it within the confines of your mission set. This type of professionalism is a different animal. So I would say, Jake, you're right, man, in a lot of ways. I just think, but it's the harness discipline of a group of killers together that have a purpose, a single purpose. It's some badass stuff. I mean, no doubt about it. So,
and it also
we're here
takes
for you, America. We're here for you.
And it also takes one to lead them. Like,
Yeah.
and I'm sure you guys can
Yeah.
attest to having, one of those leaders that steps into your team room and you just look at him like, no, this dude can't lead us savages. He doesn't last, right?
You know what
It's
it's like
messed up
most,
as that is. Yeah.
the scene with the Joker in The Dark Knight, where he's
Mhm.
talking about the Chinese guy. He was like, "Listen, man, you guys gonna let the TV tell you what to do? I can always tell a squealer, and that guy." That is when somebody walks into your room and they don't have that stink on them. When you look at them, I'll tell you what: if special operations isn't just chock full of sociopaths, they all sure act like it all the time because you can suss it out right away. And that weakness, man, I don't want to liken it to prison, but I'll tell you what, it's a lot like prison. You show that weakness and you show that you're not willing to go that extra mile. I've had friends that have told
100%.
me stories about going on targets with dudes and being like, "Hey, man, I remember when you were supposed to shoot that guy that was over there and you didn't. I didn't see you loose your rounds out of that weapon. That can never happen again, or if you're off the team, because that's what we have to do. This is life and death. This is not a game.
Yeah.
This is not a. You're not.
Right.
You are not some warrior monk that through your own goodwill you're going to spare the enemy. No, you're going to dead check that motherfucker so he doesn't kill your friends. That's what you're going to do.
Yeah. And it's not for everybody. Like Ben and I were discussing earlier. It's not for everybody, but it's a necessity that is needed because that's just how the world works. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah. I
It's-
mean that I think the mass destruction as well that will mess with you a little bit. I mean, I think seeing air delivered munitions and what that does to people, or seeing like large caliber self-propelled weapons, what that does, like Bradley's, tanks, all that stuff. I mean, it's different because I think, again, like I go back to that saying of when people are like, I'm a warrior, and okay, cool, but warriors do warrior things, and so
Yeah.
I don't ever take that lightly. And not I mean, again, when you say somebody, oh, you're a rock star, okay, you're not a real rock star, right? That's another thing too. But I mean, I get that, not to be too crazy about it, but that there's a lot that goes along with it.
I'd like to pull this thread a little bit because we all sit here and we all agree. Like, Jake, I agree with your point. Like, I agree. I think there is some level of sociopathy that you have to have. Like, I'm sorry, you cannot have empathy for your fellow man. Like, if I come into a room and you grab for a gun, I'm not going to ask you if you're really a bad guy. I'm not going to really examine the reason why I'm in that room with you. That's a life and death battle, and I'm going to win. Right? Like, there is some level of sociopathic nature that you absolutely have to have, even to do the thing. Jumping, diving, mountain climbing, working at night, all these things, you cannot have a fear for your own life. And then when you go into that room, you have to fight to win. So we're here saying these transparent truths, and we're here with our 75 folks that are in the live. I think that's a new record. What's up, everybody?
That's pretty
Obviously,
cool, man.
It is pretty cool. We're telling these stories, and we know these things to be true, but where is the disconnect? Is that something that Hollywood has led us to believe, that everything's going to be clean and surgical and sometimes you can just bag a guy off target? Or Jake, where do you think we went wrong?
So, in all honesty, I just think America, it's like, you go back to, I forget the movie where the guy says, "You want us on that wall." It's a Marine movie, right? It goes back to,
you can't remember the name of A Few Good Men. You're telling me,
yeah, that's it. The
Jack
Few Good Men.
Nicholson?
Okay, so
Jack
but my
Nicholson
my
on
point
this,
is,
you want me on that wall. That's when
you want
Hell
me,
yeah, I ordered
okay?
the code red. I was always
Yeah,
like,
I ordered
yes.
the code red. Yeah, and everybody's like, yeah. You know what's funny is like when you're younger and you're in the military, you think you're Tom Cruise, and then when you're older in the military, you think you're Jack.
Fuck yeah, man.
Because you are. Because you are that. Yeah, fuck yeah, I ordered fucking kill.
You're
them
the
all. What
people's
fuck?
poet. In the beginning, you're the people's poet. Help everyone. Later, you're like, nope.
Murder everyone.
So I just think it's the disconnect between what really has to happen and what people really think is happening, right? Like, I mean, you think about Vietnam, we lost 70,000 troops. We lost, just call it 9,000 in 20 years over there. Mm-hmm. The saying that's going around now is it wasn't the same war, right? Like, we were fighting mountain dudes, and like, our technology was vastly superior. We had air superiority from second one, and I just think America has become incredibly soft at this point. And so soft America can't handle, like I got it on my channel, and everybody's saying, like, how do they let those people come back to the United States? And I want to just go full, crazy on them and be like, what do you mean how you let them come back to the United States? How do we let you live in the United States?
Wait.
Right?
What are they saying? What are these fuckers saying? What?
So they're saying like, we shouldn't let the guys, the sociopaths, come back to the United States, right? They're in the United States
like
killing
us?
people and doing
Like
stuff.
us?
Oh, absolutely, bro. And I'm just like, look, man, if we ain't
awesome.
do what we do, you get nothing, right?
love
You're
it.
speaking German. You're
Yeah.
speaking Japanese. You're speaking whatever language is out there, because it's cats that are out there keeping them guys from getting here. You know what I mean?
It's a bubble. Like, they live in a bubble.
And honestly,
Right? Like,
honestly, thank God for it.
yeah.
Thank God for all of
Yeah.
it, because I don't know how my life would be if I didn't have all these opportunities I've had. If I haven't had the United States Marine Corps to harness my abilities, and I thank God. It's all good.
Yeah. And nothing against them, right? Because you always hear, thank you for your service, but they don't really know what that service entails, right? So they live in that bubble. Nothing against them that people like us have to, go protect. And I'm not complaining, right? I mean, I love it, right? Like, you watch Tom Brady on a freaking 2-minute drive in the competition and the freaking fire in his eyes. Like, that's us on a battlefield, like wishing that something goes off so we can go to work. Again, we're built different, and it is what it is, and we're not complaining. We're just saying that's reality, whether people want to hear it or not. And it'll never get to that point, because if men like us aren't doing what we do, then you'll be getting butt fucked right now, right? And nobody wants that, right?
Well, I mean, some people do want that.
I knew he was going to say it. I knew he was going to say it. I knew it.
I had a conversation with one of my friends that he was talking about the Second Amendment. We have great conversations. Like, he does not have the same. He's a gun control advocate. And obviously, I'm a staunch believer in the Second Amendment. All 27 words of it ends with "shall not be infringed." If the government is allowed to have it, I should be able to have 2. Up to and include nuclear weapons. I do not give a shit. Nobody should have the monopoly on violence. That's how I feel about it. So we have a bunch of conversations inside of here. I made the contention that since the Second Amendment was enacted, since we actually wrote the Second Amendment down, that everybody could keep and bear arms and be part of a well-trained militia and all this other stuff, I think that that's more of a deterrence to invasion than anything else. And to your point, you have millions of veterans that are gun-owning American citizens that have seen the horrors of war. And if you don't think that factors in to people that wish to do us harm, to include these TDA folks, to include some of these other violent extremist organizations that are operating even inside of the bounds of America right now, there is a natural emergency brake for those folks. And you know what it is? It's when they look around at the grocery store, they don't know how many people are concealing. They don't know that I got a shorty with a fucking blackout in the truck, and I don't care about your bullshit plate armor, because that blackout's going to punch a hole right in your freaking head. You know what I mean? So I think that that's more of a deterrent, and I think those people that live in that bubble, you need violent, good men in America. You need violent, good men that have seen war and have seen counterinsurgencies, and they enjoy the protections of that deterrence without actually having to engage in it themselves. And it's a hard thing to try to explain to somebody. I was trying to explain to my friend. I was like, listen, man, World War II, we didn't get invaded. You know why? The Second Amendment. All of this other bullcrap that's been going on, everybody that gets froggy every once in a while, you know why the cartels haven't pounded across it? What if Mexico was on the border of France? There would be Taco Tuesday in the Champs-Élysées. That's what would happen, is because they would roll through France and it would not even be close. But that doesn't happen in America. Why? Because those gentlemen know that there are a whole bunch of people around here that know how to gather intelligence and know how to use open source intelligence reporting. And they know that you're not some boogeyman. You have a name, you have an address, and you have a family. And because we maintain that, because there are millions of Americans that maintain that same sort of viewpoint here in America, that deters more violence than it allows. And people just do not get that, because, again, there's a difference. There's levels to this, man. These people that think they're going to get in the military, it's not the Peace Corps. You make that decision. I think I said it when we were actually talking about President Trump. I told Jake, make no mistake, I said that I was going to murder for this country the first time I raised my hand and took that oath of enlistment. And that willingness was refreshed the next 4 times I did it, to include the last one that was indefinite. That is what you're getting in the military to do. Make no bones about it. You are there to support the killing of other people and to support and defense of the Constitution of the United States of America, or you're there to take on that action yourself. And to pretend otherwise is being naive.
Yeah. All right. Let's talk about this pager attack while we're on this.
What pager attack? What is?
Oh man!
Oh yes.
Hey, by the way, I was just on the Champs-Élysées in Paris. I was just there. And let me tell you how that cartel roll through would go. Be fucking stuck in traffic. They'd be like, let's go. Oh,
Right.
Jesus.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, they'd be sitting there stuck. I mean, the traffic there from the Olympics, they like the mayors like closed everything off. The Parisians freaking hate their mayor right now because
They
they've just
really
like
do.
they can't. There's no movement. It's terrible. So the cartel would be like, so wait to invade, not yet.
Yeah.
It's too much traffic.
Can you give 1 second? We do have a super chat, so I do want to get to that
Oh,
before
yeah,
we
go
hit
ahead.
this. So Jay, we'll get into the pager attack next. But from Alf of Hip Hop Slam, what's up? I'm an Air Force veteran. Hey, thanks for your service, dude. Another Air Force dude. We know that we're smarter, we're better. We just are. When I was in during the aught to '06, the Air Force used to send out climate surveys. In your opinion, does climate surveys work? In my experience, I didn't see change occurring. The perfect person to answer this would be a guy that's gotten a climate survey before.
Oh
Ben.
shit.
Ben, when
Yeah.
you got climate surveys, I know you got, like, everybody has a deox, everybody has a climate survey, everybody
Yeah.
has some sort of feedback function. When you and the senior enlisted in the squadron were able to get those climate surveys,
Yeah.
do you think that did you take that input for actionable change, or how did you
Hugely
feel about it?
serious. Huge for the Marine Corps as a battalion commander, squadron commander, very, very serious firing offense. If you get a bad climate survey, like you're gone. The inspector general will come and remove you, and you're removed for cause. So very serious in the Marine Corps. Elsewhere, I imagine, I don't know, but the Marine Corps loves to enforce its culture through firing people. So it's like they can't wait. They're like, oh yeah, yeah, really? We can fire somebody? Fucking fire them. If you can't kill somebody, firing is the next thing, right? This is the wacky cult that is the Marine Corps that I love, right? That I'm a full part of. But so yeah, they can't wait to attack like a pack of wolves on you. And I mean, as a leader, you get the climate survey. You're just trying to live right, live with, and lead right with humility and do the best you can by everybody. But you're not going to please everybody, and so and they can name people. It's like full out interactive. I don't know if it's the same, but they can be like, yeah, so and so sucks. He sucks so bad. I don't even know why, but he just sucks. He's terrible. It can be all things like that. They don't care. And so, um, I mean, I was lucky in mine. I had some good leaders across the board, and things worked out. But things weren't always roses. There were always things to be fixed, especially when you are actively deploying to combat. There's a lot of churn and a lot of friction and pain and emotional baggage in the unit. I had guys walking around my unit that didn't have legs, didn't have arms. Like, these are operators, right? That stayed on. And one of them, I'm going on a tangent here, but I just think about Gunny Chris Bannister, man, badass motherfucker, dude. Went on, got got blown up and amputee, went through all this work to go and deploy again, and was back in combat missions in like a year and a half. So had a lot of intense, great people at my unit. And so I think the climate surveys do, to go back on the subject here, I think they do make a difference. How much change can you make in that much time? I mean, it depends how urgent it is, right? Like I said, they will remove you as a leader. They'll be like, okay, work on these things. If it's bad enough, you're gone, and they'll put somebody else in charge. There's always somebody waiting in the wings to take over. There's usually a pretty deep bench. You'll see all these other officers waiting in the wings at regiment. They're waiting for you to fail or to
Oh, yeah.
die
Absolutely.
and come take over.
Licking their
So,
chops. And so I will.
Yeah.
I'll add some senior NCO perspective. I've seen it from both sides. I've been that disaffected E5 that blew somebody up on a climate survey and felt like it fell on deaf ears. And I've also been the guy that's gotten the climate survey and been like, "Hey, man, I think there are some good points in here." So just know the differences between the feedback systems, right? The climate survey is a yearly survey of a specific group to see if these organizational things, like, there's certain questions you can't even add. Like, the commander doesn't even have a choice for 100% of the survey. They need the larger command, be it the Air Force, Army, Marines, Navy, whoever. They have certain questions that you have to ask. It's almost always about sexual assault, discrimination, or some sort of other EO complaint. And then there's like 5 or 6 questions that you can put in there and you can actually ask the unit. This is a feedback tool and it opens conversation. The meaning of this is, for when the DOC survey is done, a good commander and a good senior enlisted leader, whoever, whether it's a chief, master chief, whoever, sergeant major, they walk into a room and they go, okay, cool. Hey, here are the things that were said. Like, let's talk about this. Like, yeah, it was anonymous, but it's meant to open conversation.
Right.
If you want to talk about things that are going to work right away, if you want to talk about things that are going to change something that you think is egregious and illegal, immoral, unethical, stupid, or dangerous, you got to use the IG. There are other reporting functions for that, right? Like, and there are other ways for you to figure that out moving forward. It is not the DOX or the climate survey is not the immediate tool that people think it is. And when you're a younger enlisted dude, you think it is. You're like, oh, I'm going to put this on a climate survey, and in front of the world, the chief is going to get yelled at because he's a mean person and yells at people about having their shirts tucked in at PT or whatever the fuck his ism was, right? But that's not what the DOX or the climate survey was. So, you know, Alf, to answer your question, man, I've seen it work and I've seen it not work, but it's almost largely due to the expectations people have for the survey. It's you're giving.
That's a great
input.
point. That's a great point.
Yeah, like what's your output that your expectation is? The climate survey opens a conversation for the entire unit. A specific issue is handled through other regulatory functions. So just make sure you understand the difference between the two. But to your question, I've seen climate surveys work. I remember
they're working right now. Look at how many senior leaders are being fired. I think the most recent one, like a senior Marine NCOIC, I think he was out of one of the recruiting depot, just got fired.
Oh yeah.
And then before that, it was another Air Force dude. So dudes are getting fired left and right. It works.
Yeah, there's another 05 Air Force commander. The second one in 5 months or something like that. The second one for loss of confidence. I made
off a climate survey.
I don't know if it's off a climate survey. I'll tell you what, it's probably off of the fact that he couldn't keep his dick in his pants.
I will tell you.
I will tell
you when that IG comes down. I had the IG come down. They do like inspections, but that's no shit, man. I mean, he sat down in my office as a colonel who represents the Commandant of the Marine Corps. He's like, okay, okay, Commander, let's talk. I just fired somebody yesterday, and I was like, okay, sir. And he's like, okay, cool. We're down here to do our standard inspection. Not a big deal. I'm like, not a big deal. You just fired somebody yesterday. And so it's pretty scary stuff, man. They deep dive into everything, so that's, like you said, the IG, that is when the IG shows up. I mean, they have their standard thing. They just do unannounced. They just come. And I was fortunate enough to go through that. But I really I think that experiences like that help me with what I do today for working with businesses, things like that, because talk about understanding supply chain management and things like that. Oh, I understood it pretty well after the IG game. I'll tell you that much. Good Lord of mercy.
That's a great point too. Like understanding, like people talk about, transparency and leadership. I'll tell you, it takes one time for somebody to walk. I've had, IG walking. I was in charge of like Stanival, our evaluations and stuff. And the Air Force aircraft world, standards and evaluation shop, it's a huge deal, right? They'll just shut your whole program down. You won't be able to jump. It's a big deal, and they don't care. They're like, I don't give a shit. You're a special operator. I'm an AFE guy, or I'm a SARM person, like air crew resource management person. They were like, this is the one time in my life I have power over an entire special tactics squadron. So guess what I'm going to do? I'm just going to drill you in. I'll tell you it. Yeah, exactly. And I'll tell you though, it gave me a valuable lesson, because the next time they came in, I was like, I'm not playing this again. I'm going to do everything exactly how I need to standards, so I never have to have that conversation again, because they do not care. Like they're going to go home to their hotel, have a nice dinner because they're TDY, and they're going to go back home, and they're going to laugh at the PJ that was like, oh yeah, that guy got totally in trouble. He had no idea what he was doing. I told the commander, and it was over.
Oh yeah.
No thanks.
Yeah. So operation below the belt. All right. So I've studied this one quite a bit since it went down. Since Ben's not familiar, right? So somehow the Mossad was able to communicate to Hezbollah that they can get tracked through cell phones, and somehow convince them to ditch their cell phones.
Right. So this is
number Hezbollah.
One. This is so awesome. The fact that they ran an IO campaign, that Mossad somehow convinced the highest levels of leadership at Hezbollah, which is an Iran-backed terror organization. We're talking about the north of Israel, right? 80,000 Israelis have been displaced from the north of Israel, from the north of Israel, because Hezbollah owns that region. They've just been chucking rockets in there over and over and over again. So Israel said enough. Months ago, they got an IO campaign that the top levels of Hezbollah believed that they were able to be tracked via their cell phone, so they convinced them to go to pagers. Go ahead, Joe.
So they go to pagers, right? And the company that makes all the pagers, I want to say it's a company in Taiwan, and the Mossad had a shell company. The shell company then goes, they had 5 shell companies. They went and bought a bunch of pagers, and in those pagers, they put fucking bombs in them. Right?
I mean, this is, let's skip over a certain period of time and we'll use a historical example because
Yeah.
it's okay to do so. So we don't, skip
Yeah.
the podcast.
Allegedly. So
But
they
in the IRA, they had that. They had that in Northern Ireland. It's called jarking. They jarked the weapons, and they'd sell them all these AKs and things. The SAS did, and they were all jarked with explosives, and they call it jarking. And they have explosives in there. But this may or may not have happened in other places too.
Yep.
Dude, so they were able to get out all these pagers to all Hezbollah dudes. Dude, the level of freaking meticulousness that went into this operation is fucking surreal, right? So all the pagers all went to Hezbollah dudes, and at approximately 3:30, a message was sent to everybody with pagers, and fucking balls started falling off, like bombs started going off. I'm talking about supermarkets,
2,800
funerals, like
pagers went out. 2,800
dude,
pagers
it
went
was
out.
wild.
So there's a misconception too. Like Edward Snowden came out, and then everybody's freaking out about their iPhones. Like, okay, they could remotely detonate. That's not what they did. What they did is they coated the batteries in PETN, which is an extremely explosive material. And then when they would send the pages, the batteries would heat up and it would kick off the PETN. They sent out a mass page on the network. Some of the people actually got away from it. They felt the pager heating up next to their skin, and they ditched it. More than 1,000 didn't. Killed 9, almost no collateral damage. 1,000 people got injured or hurt or maybe more. And now Hezbollah has no clue what stuff is filed and what stuff is good. The IO campaign that they ran after it, the Mossad, has been calling people, telling them like, hey, what phone are you talking on? And they just hang up. Hilarious.
I think the best part of it is the next day they blew up all the walkie-talkies.
The walkie-talkies.
They got them on the walkie-talkie. Oh, we don't have pages no more. Hey, go to walkie-talkies. Plan Bravo. Boom.
I mean, Mossad are the same people behind that. Remember the movie Munich?
Yeah.
Munich.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is the same dudes we're talking about, right? So they're gonna get theirs,
Right. Well,
Yeah.
the other thing is that they killed Hezbollah's number 2 in Lebanon. They actually, they're still verifying right now. They're looking for BDE and some BTQ, but they think that they neutralized the second in this thing. Like Israel's like not screwing around anymore. They're like, no, we are taking the north of Israel back. We got too much other stuff going on. So this has all happened in the span of a week. So not only did they clack off 1,000 of these that actually injured, some seriously, killed 9, but then they went and they took out the number 2 of Hezbollah in Lebanon. Interesting on this one, Jay. Who would you say is the most surprising person that had a Hezbollah pager? Do you know? Did you read that in the news story?
Yeah, somebody within that government, somebody within the Lebanon government. I think it was like number 2.
It was the
had
Iranian
a pager on his
ambassador to
person.
Lebanon.
Yeah,
So
Iranian ambassador.
forever, like it's been this open secret. The Iran is like,
Yeah,
no, we're totally not funding Hezbollah. We're totally not. No,
Right.
guys, like, yeah, we both hate the Jews, but we're not funding Hezbollah. That's weird that the Iranian ambassador to Lebanon would be injured in this attack with his pager.
Yeah, Hezbollah. I mean, Hezbollah has been a known proxy for them for so long. I mean,
forever.
that's why the Quds Force commander, why we took him out. So I mean,
Good riddance.
Yeah, and like I said, I'm sure we can appreciate, me personally, I can, because again, like as a SF dude doing like unconventional warfare and all that, I can appreciate it, right? But what I didn't appreciate are the fucking people that got fucked up because they were just around, the bad dudes. You know what I mean? So I think even though it was a successful operation, there was still civilians injured, and there was still, was it like 2 kids, I think,
with the pagers,
died.
with the pagers.
Well,
Man,
yeah.
I'm going to tell you.
Hey, let me say this. Hang on, I want to say something real
go
quick,
ahead.
Aaron. I don't have any give a craps because those missiles that they're sending over on a daily basis don't have any give a craps.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it is like I say this, man. When I had to give a presentation on 9/11 about 9/11 in front of my business school class, and I said this right here is a world-class special operations mission.
100%.
Okay, it's a world-class mission. Like they pulled it off. It was world-class.
Yeah.
All kudos to you. But you just poked the bear, and now we're going to go over there and we're going to rip some ass. So I know I'm one of the dudes that's pulling, like saying that Israel's doing too much and all that stuff, but blowing some people up with pagers and getting some collateral damage, so what?
And I hate to bring facts into this matter, but Israel is prosecuting the most humane war in the history of warfare. There's a way that you can just basically see between civilian collateral damage and whatever else. I know that the media is going to have you believe otherwise. Israel is prosecuting the most humane war in the history of warfare. If you look at the number of people that they've killed, collateral damage, even with all the they've dropped more bombs at this point than I think went off in the entire Hiroshima, right? Like, I don't know how they make that connection, but Israel is actually prosecuting the most humane war in this operation where we're talking about they injured like 7 people, killed 9, plus 1,000 terrorists are now out of it, plus the IO
It's amazing.
campaign. I don't know what else you expect. Like, again, this is war. War is ugly and war is hell, and it's indiscriminate. Yeah. And as opposed to, the same people that'll say, "Oh, I can't believe that Israel would do this," and they injured a couple women and children, completely ignorant of the fact that they've been lobbing 200,000 missiles into Israel over the last 20 years. Like, I don't know what we're talking about.
I think, Jay, you bring up a good point. I mean, still the human factor and human side. I mean, just as a human being, I mean, yeah, you still do. There's still concern. I mean, obviously, like, we prefer it to be only the intended targets being damaged. And obviously, to Jake and Aaron's point, it's doing the best they can, and damage will happen. But no, I'm with you, Jay. Like, just as a public service announcement, yeah, we're not happy about that. So
don't get me wrong. Like, as much as we love to do bad things to bad people, that's what humanize us, is the fact that we can say, "Oh, fucking kids died. That's fucked up."
That's the difference between,
at least from my perspective, right?
Yeah. Two
That's
things
the difference between real sociopaths and us. I mean, honestly, like, real sociopaths.
Two things can be true at the same time. Okay,
right.
It sucks that kids die, and it's objectively hilarious that these dudes got their balls blown off shopping for fruit. Fuck you.
Depends where they had it placed. Was it on the hip and the front?
Dude. Hey,
you remember your beepers back in the day?
I know you had a pager. Ben had 2 pagers.
I did brick phone. I did full brick, full. What do you call it? Lethal weapon brick phone. Walking around like Mel Gibson.
You look so good.
All I'm saying is, as a man, like, I wouldn't put that on anybody, man. Like, it's not the balls. You know what I mean? But that's neither here or there. Aaron, before we transition out of here, because we still gotta have our ops meetings about 2 hours in. What are your thoughts on the political landscape and Kamala possibly leading in the polls?
Well, so number one, these are the same polls that told you in 2020 that Trump was going to lose Wisconsin by 18 points and it was a coin flip. Right now, every single swing state, if you go over to Nate Silver's website, this is a great place to go. It's called the Silver Bulletin. So if you go over there right now, he usually has the most level-headed poll analysis. Every single swing state, to include places like Nevada, Georgia, Michigan, Pennsylvania, they're within margin of error. That means it's a coin flip. And I think we saw it in 2016 too, right? Hillary Clinton, 99% chance to win, people saying polling this and polling that. Here's what happens with polling. Usually polling almost always favors the Democrat. Number one, because Kamala Harris has outspent Donald Trump online and in the social media space almost 10-1. She's thrown 20 million at Instagram and Meta, and the Donald Trump campaign is not online like that at all. At least as far as numbers go. But when you look at this, it's within the margin of error literally everywhere. Nobody learned anything. Kamala Harris was supposed to get this huge bump, and we talked about it. I talked about the high water event was going to be Megan Thee Stallion and the hose for Kamala dancing on stage, and that was going to be as good as it gets. That was correct, and I'm not patting myself on the back because I'm not a genius. I'm just not an idiot, and I can read the signs that are going. Kamala Harris does not have a policy. The American voters are not learning anything new. There are stories about on Politico right now how the American public doesn't know enough about Kamala. They're mad that she doesn't answer questions when asked specifically what she's going to do. And it's within a margin of error everywhere. So number one, Jake will come to you in a second. Number one, I don't know how much you believe the polls, but they've been wrong before. And typically in these sort of scenarios, they're having phone polls of targeted voters that are saying things that they won't actually vote on. That's number one. Number two, as you look at how close it is, it's not supposed to be this close. With as much money, with as much media coverage. Before the ABC debate, 100% positive coverage for Kamala Harris on every single MSM that they care about, MSNBC, ABC, and NBC. 97% negative for Donald Trump. He should come out of that 10 points down and everywhere. But Kamala Harris has made a serious number of missteps, both in her political strategy and in the way that she's engaging with the American public. She did not get endorsed by the Teamsters. 60% of the Teamsters that they polled are voting for Trump. People are livid about this because she's losing the largest voting demographic in America, which is white American males. And she's also hyper-focused on saying things that mean nothing when asked a direct question. And the American rank and file are picking up on it. So bottom line on this one, go to Nate Silver, check out the Silver Bulletin. That's a great place. It's where I go to look and see really, between them, Real Clear Politics and 538. Those are 3 great resources. Please check them out. Bottom line, it's a coin flip. If you want to win this election, go register, go vote. If you live in Nevada, you're auto-registered, go vote. I'll go with you. If you're listening to this and you live in the Las Vegas area, I will take you to go vote. Go vote. Jake, what's up?
All right, man. So have you guys seen the interview that she did with Oprah Winfrey talking about coming into people's houses with guns? Like she's going to go into people's houses that have guns.
Well, hold on.
Now, wait.
So that clip was from a while ago, but she did the interview with Oprah where she said she'd shoot somebody that walked into her house.
That's what I'm getting to.
Sorry.
She said, I'm a 2A. I believe in 2A. Let somebody come in my house. I'm going to shoot them. I was like, But the best part of it was her intellectual mouse brain of hers then said, oh, my people will clean that up later. Yeah, they'll clean it up. They'll clean it up. I'm like, yeah, you just said you're going to shoot somebody if they come in your house with a gun, but you're trying to take everybody's guns from them. Yeah. Something doesn't jive there.
Yeah, you don't hate politicians enough. You just don't. So there you go. That's all I got.
Either way, it should be interesting come November. But I appreciate you guys coming on. Before we end this, anybody else have anything to add? I know it's about to hit 7:00. I gotta eat me some dinner.
Hey Jay, I'm gonna tell you, I thought the Ben interview was awesome, bro. Like I listened to pretty much the whole thing. Brother. I was like, Ben was throwing down fire, man. Like I said, man, shoot, I'm lucky to be in this group of 3. Shoot.
I appreciate it, man. I'm honored to be able to hear with you guys. That's for sure.
Yeah, because we still have to share Aaron's story and then Jake's story. So hopefully in the near future, we'll just rotate through each of us interviewing each other, whoever wants to take the next one. And we'll just kind of get our story out there to the folks that are supporting us. 85 in the chat right now. So we appreciate you guys. What do you guys have going on for the weekend? Anything crazy?
Recovering after all the travel, man. Just getting organized.
Hey, Ben dodged the bullet, baby. He dodged a soiree bullet. I love it, man. It always works out, Ben. It always works out, my guy.
100%.
It always works out. So I got 3 kids throwing up right now. So it's going to be one of those weekends, and I'm coaching 2 sports tomorrow. So sign me up.
The chat was asking earlier, Jake, how's soccer going?
Oh, listen. The mark of a great leader is not what he can do, but it's what the people working for him or with him can do. I got a college soccer coach or a college soccer player coaching the offense, and I got a high school soccer player coaching the defense. The only rule I implemented is if you get on the other side of the field, shoot at the goal. If you get on the other side of the field and you don't shoot at the goal, you're not going to get to play. So that's it. But, yes, I got 2 people that understand soccer. God help us all. I'm telling you right now, the Bobcats are going to be on fire tomorrow at about 3:30 at the YMCA, Maze City YMCA, and I love it.
That's awesome. I tell you what, let's put that out there. Maybe in the near future, man, we can do like a panel, like a live, the 4 of us, and then we have Becky and them come out and see us. You know what I mean?
Yeah, let's go. That's what I'm talking about.
Let's do it. That sounds good.
Yeah.
Wait.
We'll just put that out there in the atmosphere.
Wait. I would love a live event because remember what I said in the text messages, right? I'm not going to say it on here, but I'm just telling you. There's only so much Ben can eat. There's just only so much he can handle.
Do you see what I have to deal with?
Hey, it's well-deserved, Ben. You's a bad dude. It's well-deserved. Glad we got you.
Oh, man.
I'm
Jake's
glad to be here, man.
I love it. For legal reasons, I don't feel that way. Hey.
Oh, man. But
all right,
folks,
y'all.
We appreciate you guys. Aaron, if you want to stick around for the ops meeting, the rest of you guys will just put it out on the group thread, what Carlos and have to say. Chat, we appreciate you guys. We'll see you guys next week to our original schedule of just news and then us bullshitting around. Folks, until next time, take care of yourselves.
Thanks, everyone, for watching. Appreciate it.